Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to 11Alive 24/7. Faith Jesse joining you with our stream here. It's a little ominous outside if you look out. Little dark clouds, little cloudy. Meteorologist Danielle Moss joining us to talk about it. You know, before the show, we were talking with one of our producers and we looked outside and we were like, oh, that doesn't look great. But you said it looks worse than it is.
Yes, it is. It is. And to be honest, Faith, it looks really bad here in Midtown. But if you take a look a little bit closer to the north, like in Cobb County, they are getting a really strong thunderstorm. But we're not looking at any severe weather at the very second. There's no severe thunderstorm warnings. This is looking at your current satellite and radar. It is active. We knew this. This is what we were warning you about yesterday. We knew that there was going to be more shower and thunderstorm activity. And you can kind of see how they all just kind of pulsed up, right? This, I would say, would be concerning rain showers, because if they don't move quickly, that's how you get that potential for flooding. So let's zoom in, put a pause to it, take the lightning strikes off, let you see what's going on. There are several areas of heavy rain that we're watching for, some in northwest Georgia and some right here in Metro Atlanta. I am more concerned about the ones in Metro Atlanta because it's 12:32, and while yes, people are and kids are still in school, parents could be on the way to try to go get those kids out of school. So we're going to start to see more traffic around this time. People are going out to lunch. So this is definitely going to be causing some trouble on our roadways. Right now, we're seeing a strong thunderstorm in Cobb County. You can kind of see, I'll put a pause to it there. It almost covers all of Cobb County. In case you're unfamiliar, let me circle exactly where I'm talking about. This is one of my favorite parts about being on the stream because we can do this in real time. This is Cobb County. So you can see very heavy rain, some thunder. In fact, if I put the lightning on, you can see all the lightning strikes within the last 15 minutes. So there's a lot of lightning involved with this storm. I saw a really huge lightning bolt even here in Metro Atlanta in the last 5 or 10 minutes or so as I was monitoring these storms. But as of right now, that is the strongest thunderstorm. And yes, it does come into parts of North Fulton. So if you are in Metro Atlanta, you need to make sure that you are being weather aware just in case you run into some ponding on those roadways. I will say, we were talking about how ominous it looks. Our station is really in this area. So we haven't started to see the heavies of the rain just yet, but we're going to start to see these thunderstorms make their way through. I want to put some motion on this storm so you can see what's happening around the 285 perimeter. Lots of heavy rain, lots of thunder, a few lightning strikes as well. So we have to be very careful of what's happening outside. There's nothing you can really do about lightning except for go indoors. This is a live look at our Truist Park camera. It just stopped downpouring there. I mean, we're talking about really heavy rain. It's still raining. There are light rain showers instead. And this is a look into the airport. There is a ground stop until 12:45 this afternoon. Already at least 60-minute delay. So if you have any flights this afternoon, you want to make sure that you are watching the apps that you have, watching the FAA, and seeing what's going on, because these showers and thunderstorms are really pulsating up and then they start to go down just a little bit. This is our Echo Park Speedway camera. It is drier. You can see that the racetrack there at Echo Park is still very wet. So we are looking at off and on showers pretty much all day long. Here's a look into Midtown. You can see how low the ceilings are. That's that ominous cloud cover Faith was talking about. It does look very scary outside, but we're just looking at normal showers and thunderstorms right now. And even as we take a look into our tower camera, this is where I saw that really cool lightning bolt earlier. I've never seen one that cool before. And of course I was sitting at my desk and we weren't able to show you, but the skies are ominous. And yes, we're dealing with some really heavy downpours, and we're going to continue to see these happen across really Metro Atlanta in the next few hours. In fact, let's time it out for you. What can you expect? This is a look at our future cast. Going in the next few hours, we're going to continue to see these showers and thunderstorms really pulsate. But you can see, even around 3 o'clock, these same areas will continue to see this rain. So that's why there is a risk for maybe some flash flooding. So you have to make sure that you are being very weather aware. Do not drive through floodwaters. Schools have started back. So our concern is during the evening commute home, there's going to be a lot more people on the roadways. Very important. If you have a high schooler who might be just now for the first time driving to school or driving home, make sure you tell them, send them a text message. They can see it when they get in the car. Hey, watch out. We want to make sure that you are being safe. I will say by 9 o'clock, we will dry out and we will be dry for Wednesday morning before we have more showers and thunderstorms coming through. In fact, this is a look into your Wednesday. What can you expect for tomorrow? Same story. Starting off dry. Then we start to see those showers and thunderstorms start to populate once again. And I think the same thing is going to be happening for Thursday. Thursday is looking a little bit drier and a little bit warmer. Here's a quick look at your 7-day forecast. I want to take you back to the satellite and radar really quickly, since this is what's on everyone's mind here in Metro Atlanta. 7-day forecast shows temperatures on the climb back into the low 90s as we wrap up the work week. We can see 60% for today, 50% for tomorrow, and then more rain showers on the way pretty much every afternoon and evening. This is another look at that satellite and radar, closer look into Metro Atlanta and Faith. When we talk about these slow moving showers and thunderstorms, honestly, this is exactly what it looks like on the radar that on Saturday night in McKaysville. And I think that, you know, sometimes we take our weather for granted because, yes, while it looks scary outside, we're not anticipating any scary weather per se, but it can change on an instant. So in McKaysville, if you pulled up the radar Saturday night, you might have seen something like this. And certain things played, you know, a big part in what happened there in McKaysville. But it's very important that whenever we're talking about weather situations, that you kind of have a plan in your head already on what you should do, because you never know when things could really turn on a dime and you end up on, you know, the bad end of the stick there.
That's right. And you're talking about extreme flooding. We're actually looking in right now to emergency hearing taking place in McKaysville that we will listen into in 2 seconds. But I just wanted to ask you, Danielle, when is this common to see something like what we saw in McKaysville?
So no, it is not. So one of the things that we talked about with the National Weather Service is how uncommon this was. Wow. And this is really sometimes, like when you hear about what happened in near San Antonio with the camps last July and even this July, we talk about a once in a lifetime or once in a 405-year flood. This is different. This is a once in 500-year rainfall event. We say rainfall because, like I said, Jordan, if you pull back up the radar, I just want to show people this is just summertime pop-up showers, right? So that's why they call it a rainfall event. Other situations, I should say, played a part in what caused the flooding. So when we talk about being weather aware, if you live near a construction zone, if you live near somewhere that might not have good drainage, any type of pop-up shower could cause flooding in your area. Because if the drainage is weak, there's a lot of runoff, you get a lot of water in a short amount of time, and that really amplifies it. Right now, we're just looking at normal showers and thunderstorms, but if this rain parks over Metro Atlanta for another 30 minutes or so, we could also be looking at some possible serious situations, you know. And it's one of those things where we talk about infrastructure, we talk about all these things that play a big part in the weather, even if we're talking about winter weather. You just never know when your city, your town, your state really could be the one that has to deal with something like this.
Hey, and we truly appreciate you and the whole team working so hard to try and warn us when these things happen. But like you said, sometimes that weather is unpredictable. It can just happen very, very quickly, and it can put us in a dangerous situation. So thank you so much for bringing that to us. And like I was saying, we are listening in right now to an emergency hearing out of McKaysville because of the flooding. Let's listen in.
Do you have any idea? I have no idea. I mean, it's going to be different based on our buildings and then, you know, some of the park cleanup and stuff. I mean, I can't answer that. I mean, we'll make requests. That's part of this emergency ordinance. It gives us the opportunity to make requests and let them know kind of how we've been impacted and, you know, and see what
that's too big a question to ask you, but just
can give us.
As far as our mayor, if I understand, he is seeking and doing his best to seek funds for this. That's true, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm saying then, I see this ordinance basically as a tool. We have a problem here in our city. It's a big problem. It's not going to be easily fixed. And this is not the fix for the problem. It's just a tool. It's just an aid in helping us get this done. There's probably more than one way to do it, but this is a way that has been presented to us that to me, it seems like it will work. I do worry about the cost, but I have faith that we will be reimbursed for some of these costs that we're incurring. Some of it will have to come out of our pocket. We won't be reimbursed for all of it, but hopefully we'll get a good bit of our money back.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Michael, let me make sure I understand this building up here. At this point, we don't know if we're gonna have to sign a lease to use the building or on a month-to-month basis.
Not at the moment, no, ma'am.
That's the only question that bothers me. Because if we have to pay rent.
And like I said, we have insurance on the police departments. And they will fix our police departments, just like they do a vehicle, we do insurance. We just gotta have a place to go right now until we can get the insurance company to fix our buildings.
Right, and I understand.
But I don't know,
But I'm
to
just.
answer your question, I don't know what it would be. We gotta think that their business that owns these buildings was affected as well. And they've been trying their best to get some of their buildings that was flooded back up and operational. And they just said, take the building if y'all need it. We'll work out everything else in the end. So that's where we're at. And I mean, I understand their issue. They're shut down themselves.
Well, what I think about is the city and what our expense is going to be. And if they come up and say, oh, you're going to sign a 6-month or 12-month lease, and hopefully we'll get back in the PDs way before then.
Yeah, I mean, the plan's going to be to get back in the police department as soon as possible. And I mean, whether we rent that building or go somewhere else, we're still kind of faced with the same thing based on the situation.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So the building down there, our existing police department is totally unable to work out of at this time.
Yes.
Yeah, the one down there
Let me
attached.
make a comment too about that. I don't know if everybody's thought it through or not. I don't know if I have completely. But look at it this way. If we wanted to move to that little house down there, we would have to displace all that's down there, move this new system in, and then when it's over, move this system back out and replace what is being displaced. So to me, it seemed like it'd be more simple to move our department in a place that once it's over, we don't have to fool with that. We don't have to go back on it. They leave that place and go back to their place and it's over. We don't have to worry about it. But the other way, as soon as it's fixed, then they're going to have to, whatever we've displaced out there, this four guys go down there and that's where they work from. It'll have to be put back. So I don't think the costs are going to be, it's going to be different. That's not.
And may I say one more time, our insurance company has to pay us back. We have flood insurance. And do I know the cost of what it's going to take to do all this stuff? I do not. I got so much on my plate right now, but my biggest thing that I have to do is relocate our police department somewhere.
I would say
the integrity of what we have at our office intact the best we can under the circumstances that we've been faced with this flood.
I would say that our insurance would probably pay some, if not all, like they do on your homeowners. If you get displaced, they'll rent you a place to be until you can get your place back. I would assume that is part of that policy. I cannot guarantee it, but I would say pretty much that's how it would have to be.
Well,
If they don't, we need to get another insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
confidential. They'll help you out.
We're basically, I understand that we need to move up there or whatever, but we don't have any numbers or anything to go by. We're proving, or we're giving it whatever. That's my only problem, you know. It's totally unknown and done so quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not like we can go get a bunch of bids either and, you know, find a place. It's an a situation that just, you know, has happened very abruptly. And I mean, it's hard to, we just got to get stuff moved. I mean, if y'all have any better ideas, by all means, we're all ears.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion, Billy Wayne.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor?
You gotta say it.
Yeah. I'm in favor.
Susan, can you confirm your vote?
Susan.
Me? I'm Susan. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yes. I just want to go see the police department.
Me too. You want my vote? Yes.
Okay,
Goodbye.
any opposed? Okay, it will pass for the 30 days.
And then at the end of 30 days, we have to terminate this
Yes,
30
ma'am.
days.
Either way you want to go, you can even do it beforehand. If we happen to get back in the buildings before that, we can terminate it at any time.
Okay, but even before the 30 days. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
I think yeah, I was going to say, Terry, I think we've discussed about everything on here. Is there anything else you want to hit on for this meeting?
Just for information wise, I've been on the phone all morning again, and we are asking GEMA to help us secure a temporary permit to pull a lot more water out of the river to fill up our tanks quickly. In doing so and waiting on those permits, we're getting water from the Fannin County Water Authority that is having to be brought in by tankers. So, Susan, you'll see the trucks heading out that way probably sometime after lunch. Right now, we're just not able to catch up enough, and these will bring 8,000 gallons around that, between 6 and 8,000 at a time. And that will be coming from the Fannin Water Authority by Lance Trucking. So as soon as we can get those permits, that would be over. And as soon as we get the tanks at a safe level, that'll be discontinued also. So that's where we're at. We're asking one government agency to go with their authority to help us pull more water, which would give us the chance to catch up a whole lot quicker.
Jason, Terry, how did the water tanks get so low that, you know, we weren't able to have the water?
What happened was you know, as the power went out, and then we had these breaks and leaks in the system as the roads were washing out, and these mains were in them roads that were being washed out. It was draining our tanks, and then people using water as well. So there was a power outage at the facility. In the past, we've never had an outage more than an hour or so. It was a little longer than that on this term, but when we turned it back on, the river was had such high turbidity levels because all the mud had washed out from all the rain upstream it was a slow process to get our pumping abilities back up. And then the leaks caused the drainage, out of our systems, which lowered our tank levels. So that's what's caused us to slowly be able to recharge them. And then obviously, our crews going around and repairing all the leaks and stuff. We've had to shut water off in sections so that way we don't have any more water loss. But we're we're close. Levels are we're back stabilized, trying to get the levels up. Right now. So hopefully in the near future, I can't provide a date right now, but we're doing everything we can to get those levels back up to where we'll be back at full capacity, and then our citizens and people on the water won't be affected anymore.
Thanks, Jason, because like you said, we've never had a problem like this in the years past, and with the power being out, we've never been without power.
It was kind of a perfect storm of everything happening at once, where you have, washing out of roads with water lines in them that broke, which caused that water loss there. At the same time, a power outage, and then at the same time, the river was as turbid as we've seen it, which slows our intake level that we can pump into the plant. So,
does the water department have generators, Jason?
Say that again.
Water department doesn't have generators.
We don't have one down there, but we're looking into them. We've looked into them in the past. They're very expensive.
Yeah.
To keep everything down there running. So we'll relook at that. I'll pull those old estimates out, and definitely something to take advantage of. But like I said, typically power companies got several different avenues where they can get the power back on there. It's similar to the hospital, where they can, cut it back on as quick as possible. But I think we're just the combination of things is kind of what got us where we are. The biggest thing's the leaks and washing out that we had, what drain the tanks so fast.
And also kind of along those lines, also when the power goes off like that, the SCADA system that we have that helps us detect all the leaks at the main tanks went away. And so we did not know at the time that that's what was happening to us. And by the time that we got that back up, there's also a failure at the water plant. So we only had one big tank there actually working. So it took a tremendous amount of time just to get that up. Plus all the lines got full of water, full of air, which takes an extra amount of water to push that out. And along the lines of the generator, I was just called about an hour ago from TVA about maybe the ability of us getting a generator through them. I have to follow up on that and see what that is also. And then also, I'll be back about the first of the month. I have asked GDOT and all of their people, their finance folks, to be up here to meet with us as a council and explain to us what they think happened, their remedies for it, because I questioned them also about what was going to happen when they started on Schoolhouse Hill up there, how they were going to keep that from making it even a worse problem, and that I wanted them to be here at that time to meet with all of us to discuss all that. So sometime, hopefully in the first of the month, even if it's before the council meeting, regular meeting, we may have to call a meeting to get everybody down there to listen to what they have to say about it. And I have asked them also timelines, and can they not speed that up? That there's been a lot of times this summer that no work at all was going on for a week or two at a time. And what a burden it was putting on all of us just to try to keep things going. So that started about 12 o'clock Sunday morning when I started talking to all of them, and I finished up yesterday with them. That's why you saw all the people in town from GDOT and from C.W. Matthews looking about what they can do to alleviate this in the next thing, because I told them it couldn't happen again.
Right. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, thank you all very much for being there and helping get us where we can apply for these federal monies and state monies. I really hope it's going to be one of the big things that helps us get through all this. But thank you all for being here today and everything you've been doing in and behind the scenes and answering questions that a lot of us just don't have the answer for, because we've not ever had to do this kind of thing before. So thank you very much. We probably need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.
Thank y'all.
Jason.
So you were just listening into an emergency meeting there in McKaysville after some severe flooding in that neighborhood. If you're not familiar, McKaysville, right on the Tennessee-Georgia line, so up there in mountain country there. Infrastructure, a big question here. Residents there questioning the infrastructure and making sure, discussing what plans can we put in place so that this does not happen again. Let's take a quick break. Meteorologist Danielle Moss is on deck on the other side. We'll see you soon. Welcome back into 11Alive 24/7. Faith Jesse with you as we continue to monitor the forecast. You take a look at that bottom third there. You see that there is a flash flood warning in Metro Atlanta. This is very important. We were just listening to that meeting out of McCaysville talking about flooding, because when these events happen, sure, our team can predict that these events could happen, but what extent of the damage could flooding cause? That could change at any moment. So we do have a flash flood warning in effect. Let's bring in meteorologist Danielle Moss, who's monitoring this very closely for us. Danielle, in our last half hour, you were talking about that, how you all can do the work, you can see radar, but if things happen, boom, water can come out of seemingly nowhere.
Exactly.
The amount of it,
Exactly.
it creates this flood pattern that puts people in danger. We have a flash flood warning. What are you seeing on radar?
Exactly.
Right now?
That's exactly what I was saying. These storms, they're not moving quick enough, right? So whenever they just stall, we see them dump a lot of rain, and then that ups that flooding potential and prompts that flash flood warning. And that's exactly what just happened with the National Weather Service. They issued a flash flood warning for both Cobb and Fulton counties until 3:45 this afternoon. Take a look at this video. This isn't in Cobb and Fulton. This is in Morrow, which is in Clayton County. Look at the water there on 75 near Jonesboro Road. That is a lot of water. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about these flash flood warnings. You have to be very, very careful. There's a lot of people that are on the roadways right now because school has just started back. It's a lunchtime as well. So you're going to have a lot of new drivers. High schoolers are going to get out around that time. So you need to use caution. Okay. So let's take you right on to our radar. What can we expect? What's going on? This is look at our satellite and radar. We're going to bring it on in. There's rain showers all across North Georgia. We're not the only ones seeing the impacts. I'm just going to drive this as if we're doing severe weather. I'm not going to take you through my graphics. So it might be a little bit choppy, but I just want to talk you through exactly what's going on. So this is a look into Metro Atlanta. You can see all the lightning strikes. Within the last 15 minutes, we are talking about a tremendous number of lightning strikes. Taking the lightning off, now you can see over the last hour, these showers and thunderstorms have literally just parked themselves over Cobb, Fulton, DeKalb, Henry counties, and you are seeing all that rain, even stretching back into Paulding County as well. So we're looking at a lot of heavy rain. I'm going to put a pause to it so we can see exactly what's happening right now. And you can see how that heavy rain is falling. Zooming into the perimeter around 285, lots of heavy rain. I am concerned more about Cobb County. 30 minutes ago, like I told Faith earlier, when we see these storms in Metro Atlanta stall out within 30 minutes, that's when our flooding chance really, really goes up. So we are definitely going to be concerned about what's happening in Cobb County right now. We are on high alert, not just me. We have a team of experts here at 11Alive. So the people working the desk, they're listening for anything about any flood warnings, any flood concerns, or anything that you need to know about happening on 75, whether that's northbound or southbound, and even around 285. I was telling you, I showed you that video there in Morrow. Let's take a look down there in Forest Park. Look at there, heavy rain. That's another reason why we're seeing that flooding. So right now, what you saw, the flash flood warning is for Cobb and Fulton, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one down there for Clayton County as well. So a lot of heavy rain still continuing. Let's take a look at some of our cameras to see what's going on. This is a look into our Truist Park camera right now. It is still actively raining, so off and on showers. We call them pulsating storms. So we see them really rise up, drop a lot of rain. Sometimes they start to ease up on the rain, and then they start to drop more rain ahead. Here's a look into Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. There was a ground stop until 12:45. They just lifted it. You can see that it's not actively raining there in East Point. However, there's still delays of at least 60 minutes. That's another big part of our weather story. We live where the world's busiest airport is located. So seeing some major delays there. Even as we take a look into our Echo Park Speedway camera, it's dry, but it rained there earlier. So this is another testament to those pulsating thunderstorms. It rains there in Hampton. It stops raining, dries out. You can barely tell that the speedway was actually wet. Here in Midtown, we're starting to see our showers and thunderstorms try to dry out just a little bit, but it's not completely dry. In fact, this is looking to our DeKalb County Tower camera. You can see the skyline is very, very wet. So let's time out. What can you expect over the next few hours? It's looking into our future cast, right? These scattered showers and thunderstorms, they will be continuing over the next few hours. We're going to put a pause at it right at 3 o'clock. So that's when school gets out, right? Heavy rain all across metro Atlanta, even stretching all the way back past Putnam County. So make sure that you are weather aware no matter where you are, even as we head into our 5 and 6 o'clock hour for your evening commute. Some of the rain slacks up just a little bit, but it still continues. In fact, since we are kind of staying on weather right now, that's the big story right at this very second. I'm going to pull up another one of our models so we can see what this short range model is showing. This is even showing the same thing. So in the next 2-3 hours, we still have some of those pulsating storms right around the metro, even going towards West Georgia, going towards Carrollton and Carroll County. So bottom line is you need to be weather aware really between now and I would say 7 p.m. just to be safe. I know that's a long time, right? It's 1:06 p.m. right now, but you need to make sure that you are being very weather aware. Let's go back to our radar once again. We're going to put some rainfall rates on here so we can see exactly what's going on. I have had permission to go as long as I need to. So we'll take a little bit of time to talk about this. I was telling you about Cobb County, right? This is look at our 24-hour rainfall totals. It says 24 hours, right? But let's be honest. Most of this rain has just happened there in really South Cobb going into North Fulton. So let's put a query on it so we can see how much rainfall has actually fallen. So that's almost 2 inches of rain there along 75. So definitely going to be seeing some ponding problems, definitely going to see some concerns there in that area. In fact, Jordan, let's go ahead and bring in traffic so we can see what's going on over there as well. We're gonna play double duty. So here's a look into so this is a look into I think Smyrna. So this is 75 and 285 at the Cobb Cloverleaf. So definitely seeing some wet roadways. You can see there's some kind of truck there that is off into the gorge. So that's definitely something to keep our eye on. Whenever we see rain, we always know what happens here in Metro Atlanta with the traffic. So this is a live look into what's going on. We are seeing one accident right now, but whenever we look at our traffic map, it's very important to look into the slow areas. So we know that it's actively raining there in Cobb County. In fact, it's storming in Ackworth, and usually around this time at 107, the traffic's not that bad. So this lets me know there's some kind of incident, probably has not populated just yet. This is on 75. This is actually southbound. So 75 southbound in Ackworth near Kennesaw, definitely seeing some slow and go spots there. Not seeing any incidents at the very second. We'll take a break soon and I'll do some investigating and bring you guys another update. But even on the south side, so this is in DeKalb County. This is at 285 near 675. There's some slow and go areas. In fact, that goes back to what I was telling you guys about with that rainfall that Chase was showing us. So that is our next problem area. In fact, going back to radar, Jordan, they just said that there is a strong thunderstorm for Henry County until 1:30 p.m. So there's no severe thunderstorm warnings with these storms, but there is the potential for flooding and a lot of lightning as well. So we put our lightning strikes back on. This is the look at the lightning. That's incredible to see, even without you visually seeing the lightning strikes. So these are still very strong thunderstorms. There's no flood warnings in that area, but I can turn them on so we can see exactly what part of Cobb and Fulton County. So I'm going to put this here. And we're going to turn on our warnings. So this is what happens during severe weather. When we do severe weather, we talk about all different types of things. And a lot of times you are walking through, the same thing with us. So this is a look into our flash flood warning right here. We are looking at really heavy rainfall, really near Smyrna. You can see the Cobb Cloverleaf is included in that. In fact, I'm going to see if I can take this off so that we can see it a little bit clearer. Just bear with me 1 second. This is not our normal. There. Okay. So this is a look at our flash flood warning, taking the rain off, taking the lightning off, so you can see exactly what we're talking about. If you are in this area, if you have to drive through, your GPS will tell you, hey, there's a flash flood warning for that area. Make sure you drive around or try to give you an alternate route so you don't have to drive through that. But seeing a lot of heavy rainfall near really Powers Ferry Road, Northside Drive, Howell Mill Road, right into the city, going into Midtown as well, even close to Brookhaven. So we're looking at a very well-populated populated area that's seeing a lot of heavy rain. In fact, and it's still happening. So this is a look at the last hour or so. You can see that deep red when it first started, how much rainfall is really dropped. The good news is you can kind of see it transitioning into that yellow color. That lets me know that the rain is trying to slack up, but it just has not just yet. So if you are in that area, you know someone who has to, this is Metro Atlanta. This is literally inside the 285 perimeter. So you need to make sure that you are using extra caution. Let's go back down to Henry County so we can see what's happening in Henry. We're definitely seeing some heavy rain showers there. No flash flood warning just yet, but there is a strong thunderstorm that will be impacting you to 1:30. And I will bring back up this video because I think that it is very important that we talk about it. When we talk about flooding situations and we see those heavy downpours, this is something that you might potentially get. So just remember, I'm going to be here with you all afternoon, and then Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb will be in around 6. I would say between now, Faith, and around 7 p.m. You need to be weather aware just in case you run into something like this.
And, I mean, you don't want to be in something like that.
No.
I remember must have been last month, right here in Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
There was a ramp. It started flooding. People were trying to make their way through. I think we were in the 4 or 5 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
because we were watching it live as it was happening. And I want to say within 5 minutes, the car started getting stuck.
Yes.
The puddle just got bigger. It turned out that one of the storm drains were blocked. The crews were able to eventually get out there, pull a couple of leaves out. That water went down.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I mean, then you had a woman who got on top of her car.
Exactly.
And somebody, you remember this?
Yes.
And I mean, so, turn around, don't drown.
Yes.
As they say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whenever you're on the interstate, another traffic law that people might not be aware of, it's actually illegal to turn your flashers on if you can't see. If you cannot see, that means that it's unsafe for you to drive. So the theory is you need to get off the exit.
Yeah.
You need to pull into a gas station,
Yeah.
wherever you need to go so that you are safe.
Yeah.
So if you can't see, don't just drive with your flashers on. Be safe. Get off
safe.
that nearest exit. Pull over and make sure that you're not impeding traffic, and make sure that you find a safe location to just wait it out. If you can tell people, hey, it was storming, I needed to take 5 minutes.
They'll be okay.
They will be okay.
They will be okay
Yes.
as long as you're safe. That is the number one priority,
Exactly.
especially if you have kids, because we know school's back in session.
Yes.
And you're not in a big school bus, even though I'm sure the school buses aren't driving through, but they have a little bit of height on them, right?
But even seniors in high school, this might be
And
their
driving.
first. Yeah, this
Yep.
might be their first year driving. So it's good to kind of send your kid a text. They're going to check their phones when they get out. So send them a text message.
Look, they
hey,
do have their phones. Some of the schools.
some of them do,
But if they don't,
they don't,
after school, they would
right?
have
They'll
their phone.
definitely
Yeah,
check
yeah.
it before they get into that car. So send them a message. Let them know, hey, be careful on your way home, because this flash flood warning is for inside the 285 perimeter for Cobb and Fulton until 3:45.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much
Yes.
for all of the hard work that you're doing and the whole team. They are going to continue monitoring this and bring you the latest as we get it. Big news out there. Stay safe. Turn around, don't drown. Take your time. Send that text message. They will be okay as long as you are safe. Let's take a quick break. We have a great interview on deck on the other side. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the stream. Faith Jesse joining you here on 11Alive 24/7, where we are monitoring stories for you in our backyard, across the nation and the world. One of the big stories this week, hey, the kids are back in school, right? A lot of parents so happy about that. Get back to those classrooms, right? But we also know that with kids being back in school, a lot of them have cell phones, and there could be texting scams. And they don't stop. So we want to bring in our guest to talk about it. This is John Heriberta with Transaction Network Services. John, thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And good luck with the rain down there. It looks like a nasty day.
Thank you so much, John. Hey, I want to get your first thoughts about when you hear texting scams. What comes to mind? What should students know? What should parents know about these?
Well, it's really a matter of buyer beware, right? When you have unsolicited messages coming to you, phone calls as well, just be aware that you don't want to give out personal information. So the issues we've been seeing are AI voice generation or calls for fake school announcements, and also some scenarios of looking for funds, right? So maybe you qualified for a scholarship, maybe you're looking for a PTA fee, those types of things where they solicit to you. That's where you need to be a little bit careful.
About some of these different deals and things, because obviously everybody's
Exactly,
trying to look for a deal.
because
Everything's a little bit more expensive. What would
yeah,
something
and
like this
usually
look like?
it's something where you need to act today. There's an immediate issue, there's immediate concern. If you don't click this link, you're not going to get this deal, right, or get approved for this scholarship. So that sense of urgency, that trigger, and especially be aware of the hyperlinks in a text message as well as the QR codes, right, that are sometimes sent out as images. And when you scan that, thanks to the value and the use and the ease of AI, you're able to go to manipulated websites that may look and smell and feel like the real site, but they're not. And that's where they have to beware, both the student and the parent. So this is where going to the site directly, you probably already have a logon ID to the environment. Go to those, prearranged, pre-set up setups that you have to be able to do that transaction more securely.
This is such good information, not just for back to school, but we see these scams pop up in several industries. Of course, we are focusing on school. Now, if somebody does receive something like this, maybe it looks like a link from a trusted source, what should they do?
Well, they can go into it, but one of the things to be aware is if you go in and try to log on and you give out your credentials, then they have your credentials, so they can go to the legitimate site and take over your account and your identity. So when you get these prompts, again, probably go to the direct website itself. Type in the URL yourself of, www, whatever the .edu is for the school systems, et cetera. And do that directly. Call the phone numbers directly. The main office of the kids' schools that they go to, right? Use those legitimate sources to be able to use it. Maybe have that incoming text or phone call as a trigger to then make a connection via legitimate and known source to reach out to that party.
Everyone is watching this interview right now. Nobody should make this mistake. However, there might be a couple people who miss it. What happens if someone does click that link? They do give away their information, and now they're a victim
Yeah.
of this scammer. What should they do?
So, there's a couple options, right? So one obviously is you can go into those sites that you do connect with, change your credentials, right? That's a simple, user protection thing to do. The other thing I've been saying is that the industry has been working fairly hard together. So state attorney generals have actually been working across the country together to go find and prosecute these people who are generating this bad traffic. So the folks that are calling your parents and students in Atlanta are probably making phone calls from Florida or Oregon or Iowa or California. And what happens is that the law offices and sheriffs in Georgia have to find partnerships. So now those attorney generals are working across state boundaries to be able to do that, which is really helpful and really help to identify those parties and stop them from making calls, and even working at the federal level to take their licenses away from making activity and generating traffic.
Now, I have a question that's a little off script, and I wonder if you can ask or answer it, because it happened to me. Thankfully, I caught it in time, but somebody tried phishing me with an interview attempt, and it looked legitimate.
Yes.
Turns
Yes.
out this was somebody from out of country, And I tried to, go, I'm going to report you. And the person emailed me back, good luck. Because I guess that they were so confident that they're not going to get caught. What about bad actors from outside of the U.S.?
No, you see that we've seen one recently too, right? Of looking at toll spam, right? Or you're saying you've missed a fine, you have to go up to the registrar's office of your town or city and come pay today. So what happens with those actually is, again, the telecom companies are working together to find out how that traffic's being originated. And so that foreign entity is actually getting prevented by the FCC and other federal bodies from being able to generate traffic and deliver it into the US. So that's all, unfortunately, that's a perspective of that takes a little bit of time to do. So some of the easier things is if you find scenarios like that, there's the ability on Apple devices for iOS to swipe left to report a number as a bad text or a bad spam phone call. There's also, depending on who your service provider is, there's ability of providing crowdsource information. So the knowledge that you've obtained from this can be shared with the broader community and help other people in your neighborhood, so we can identify that traffic and label it properly as potential spam, so that even when you get the next call, that's now identified to give you that warning label.
Village, and we're so grateful when people report, so hopefully it doesn't happen to anyone else. John, we want to thank you so much for your time. Before I let you go, anything that I didn't ask you, any advice that you want to give to students and parents as they get ready, some of them already in school, navigating this new school year?
Well, I'd say be careful. We did a quick study for Atlanta specifically, and we've seen a doubling of spam traffic and text in the past month between June and July. And some of the ones that were interesting was we were seeing fake grants and scholarship notifications going out. So that's a scenario where you may have a real sense of urgency of you might get to go to a charter school or have some special program you're on, sports team that you're on, you have to pay a fee. You think you're going to miss it and you'll be kicked off the team or not get to that school. So they use, again, it's that sense of urgency that they're trying to get the parent or the child to say, oh my gosh, I have to push this button and make this connected to the website and make that payment online. And that's where they need to be able to just take a moment, take that a different path, right, and contact them legitimately.
And you took the words right out of my mouth. Take a moment, breathe, think, don't act right away. Do a double check, pick up the phone, email, because look, if you made the sports team, they want you. You're good. They'll probably wait a couple extra hours for you to get them that money or anything that you need.
And if you feel uncomfortable, it's not rude to hang up a phone call that you think is spam, right? So don't be afraid of doing that. Protect yourself. That's right.
Well, John, thank you so much for coming on with us. We truly appreciate the time. For those of you watching, please share this interview. We'll be posting it to 11alive.com so that your friends, family, people do not get scammed, because it's back to school. We want to make sure that everybody is staying safe. Our thanks to John for that. Hey, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into the stream. Faith Jesse joining you here on 11 Alive 24/7. Hey, it's August. That means football is right around the corner. Atlanta Falcons in Flowery Branch during training camp, making sure that they are ready to go because we want to win this season. And our winning reporter, Maria Martin, is in Flowery Branch talking to the team about how they're going to make those W's. Maria, thank you so much for joining us. We know we have a new front office. We have some new people on the field. People are really keyed in to see how this dynamic is going to be. You've been up covering training camp, and now we know that they will have their preseason game coming up, I believe, next Friday. What is the feeling like today up in Flowery Branch?
Well, Faith, the feeling is a little bit different considering this is the first afternoon practice that we've had up here in Flowery Branch. We just got done talking to Kevin Stefanski. He said they're not going to be in pads today because per NFL rules, at this point in training camp, you can't go back-to-back in pads. So they're going to be in shells today, so it will look a little bit different. However, this will be the longest practice of training camp so far. They're going to work on 2-minute drills at the end of practice, something that the Falcons struggled heavily with last year. So it's going to be interesting to see when we get out there in a little bit less than 20 minutes whether or not all 4 quarterbacks are going to be practicing and what it's going to be like to see newly signed and newly extended running back Bijan Robinson out there for the first time since training camp started.
Bijan, so tell us, what do we know about this deal?
Well, it's a great day to be a running back in the NFL because Bijan Robinson single-handedly reset the market. It's a historic deal, Faith. It's worth up to $75 million. It's a 3-year extension, $51 million in guaranteed money. He's going to be making a little bit north of $22 million per year. It's never been done in the history of the National Football League, and Bijan's very deserving. He led the NFL in scrimmage yards last year, and this is only his 4th season in the NFL. He's entering his 4th year. He was drafted 8th overall in 2023, and he's really a do-it-all running back. Not to mention, he's the face of the Atlanta Falcons franchise. This is a deal that both his agent and the Atlanta Falcons' new front office has been working on for a long time, and now it is finally pinned to paper. We're going to see him hopefully out there today. Kevin Stefanski said that, hey, you know how I feel about Bijan Robinson. I've said it many times, but I asked him, what makes Bijan Robinson so special, or when did you exactly notice that Bijan Robinson's a little bit different than some of the other running backs out there? He said when he was getting ready to take the Atlanta Falcons job, he was going through all of the tape, offense, defense, and special teams. And just about the second play that he watched, he saw Bijan Robinson make a cut and go 50-plus yards for a touchdown. He said that was the moment, and it didn't take him pretty long to understand that Bijan Robinson is different. Now, when you get to know Bijan Robinson off the football field, you hear it all the time. He's a good guy. He's great to be around. Well, he is. This is how Bijan Robinson is, and I don't think a contract of this magnitude will change him in any way, but it does really reset the conversation around running backs in the National Football League, and Bijan did it all on his own. So now the Falcons have their core pieces in place. This was one of 4 offensive extensions that this new front office, both Matt Ryan and Ian Cunningham, have accomplished in the offseason. So it's been really exciting to see all of this unfold here in the offseason. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah, it's history in the making, and we're witnessing it right here in our hometown. Maria, how does this impact running back deals going forward? Will this have an impact or any implications for other players?
Yeah, sure. Especially like I was talking about, this resets the markets for running back. And by the way, this front office also did that for offensive guards whenever they extended Matthew Bergeron and gave him the money that he got just over the weekend. Now, Bijan Robinson, he was the first of 2 running backs that we've been looking at when it comes to contract extensions in the National Football League. Jahmyr Gibbs, a name that Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets fans know because he spent some time there. Well, he is also looking for a contract extension. Now that he sees Bijan Robinson down here in Atlanta get his, he's looking at Detroit and saying, okay, where's my money? So this is now going to be the going rate for premium running backs. And running back's a very interesting position in the National Football League. You know, we all know that NFL stands for not for long, but especially when you're thinking about the running back position, the shelf life of a running back is not very long in the National Football League. So to get a guy like Bijan Robinson, only 24 years old, at the prime of his career, he's just now entering it. I mean, he has so much more to go. I think he's proving that if you have a running back that can do the things that Bijan can do, and remember, He's never been to the playoffs. He has not made the playoffs yet. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a first-team All-Pro selection. Saquon Barkley, who used to be the highest-paid running back, he has a Super Bowl ring. Bijan Robinson hoping that this is the first step of getting closer and closer to making the playoffs, playing meaningful football here in Atlanta. And again, he's looking around and saying, can we get this quarterback situation figured out? I know this front office wants that more than anybody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how cool would it be? Because even Atlanta's hosting a Super Bowl in 2 years. How cool would it be if we won it at home then? We'd love to win it next year as well. Maria, we have talked about Bijan. What else are you looking for today at Flowery Branch? And was I correct that we have a preseason game next Friday?
Yeah, off the top of my head, it sounds right in the calendar. You know, I'm in the midst of training camp, so I don't even know what day it is, but that does sound correct. And one thing that I think is really interesting is Kevin Stefanski did say he's going to play starters in the preseason. Ever since I've been here, I mean, I've been covering this team for 7 seasons now. There have not been starters in preseason games. He said they're going to see playing time in games 1 and 3 because you can't really get ready for football unless you're playing it. Now, does that mean they're going to play all 4 quarters? No, absolutely not. I would anticipate this to be a very limited basis for these veterans, but that does make the preseason games a little bit more exciting for fans and certainly for those of us that cover it and obviously the players as well. The other things that I'm looking for out here, Faith, the defense. We've been talking so much about the offense, and there are question marks on the defensive side of the football. I'll start with who's going to play nickel. Well, Avion Terrell, a rookie, played some snaps at nickel yesterday, which was very interesting, and I am really excited about this 2-minute drill that Kevin Stefanski said they're going to be doing at the end of practice today. I'll be tweeting up a storm of what exactly it looks like because they struggled very heavily in 2-minute last year offensively, so I'm excited to see what that kind of looks like and continuing to monitor these quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, he's on a ramp-up period after the back issues that he's had. Michael Penix Jr., we know that he cannot hit his benchmark for at least another 3 weeks, the next benchmark in his rehab. So he's avoiding all contact right now, but I'll be honest, Mike's looked really good. I'll also be honest, if you don't look good in 7-on-7s as a quarterback at this point in training camp, there is something really wrong. So that is an encouraging sign that he looks great in 7-on-7. So looking at the quarterbacks, looking at the defensive side of the ball, and also seeing if we can see Bijan Robinson out there because he's been holding in since training camp started, and hopefully he'll be out there with a helmet on today.
All right. Well, we will certainly be looking forward to your reports in later editions of 11Alive News. Maria Martin, live for us in Flowery Branch. Thank you so much, Maria.
Faye, thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll see you all on the other side. Hey, welcome back to 11Alive 24/7. Faith Jesse joining you here on our stream. We are monitoring stories across our backyard, including this story: an Atlanta woman filing a lawsuit alleging a biopsy sample mix-up leading to an incorrect cancer diagnosis and an unnecessary hysterectomy. So earlier today, we heard from the woman's attorney, who are seeking responses from the healthcare providers named in this complaint. Here's part of that press conference. Let's take a listen.
Thank you for coming to hear about this unfortunate and bizarre case. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our client, Cassandra Barksdale. She's a Fulton County resident, and she's been working in legal administration for over 20 years. Beside me, Dr. Attorney Rod Edmond. He is not only an attorney, but he is has a medical degree, and he practiced medicine for over 20 years. To the left of Ms. Barksdale, we have Clark Edmond. She is an associate here. And I am Shannon Young. I am an associate attorney here as well, the lead attorney on this case, and I have a doctor of pharmacy degree. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Edmond.
Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to be brief, but it's going to be very, very to the point. This morning, Ms. Cassandra Barksdale, through this firm, the Edmond firm, filed a negligence claim against Kaiser Permanente and Kaiser Permanente staff because they mislabeled her uterine biopsy. Ms. Barksdale initially was told by Kaiser Permanente that her biopsy showed an aggressive, high-grade endometrial uterine cancer. Ms. Barksdale, not surprisingly, was mortified when she got this diagnosis, and she was shocked because of her diagnosis of cancer. 7 months after the diagnosis, after Ms. Barksdale had undergone a total hysterectomy, which is removal of the cervix, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, her ovaries, and 4 lymph nodes, after suffering months of fear and dread and anxiety of what her future might hold, administrators from Kaiser Permanente met with her, and they told her that the sample from the biopsy that was initially labeled as hers was actually the tissue of another patient. Ms. Barksdale never had high-grade endometrial uterine cancer. Her surgical treatment for cancer was unnecessary. Her loss of her ovaries was unnecessary. The complete extinguishing of her ability to have more biological children was unnecessary. The 7 months of fear, dread, and anxiety was unnecessary. Her having to live for 7 months thinking constantly about her potential immediate mortality from dying from cancer was unnecessary. Ms. Barksdale wants justice. Attorney Young is going to give you the timeline of what happened.
In late 2024, Ms. Barksdale, 43 years old at the time, went to Kaiser Permanente Medical Center at Southwood in Jonesboro, Georgia, because she was having heavy intrauterine bleeding and fibroids. Ms. Barksdale at the time had 2 children, and she had her tubes tied, but she didn't want to foreclose out the possibility of still being able to have intrauterine fertilization. In March 10th, she presented to Kaiser to get an endometrial biopsy. On March 14th, a pathology report was created, and it stated that no high-grade carcinoma with serous features. On May 15th, she went to get a total hysterectomy, which, as Dr. Edmond said, is the removal of her cervix, her uterus, her ovaries, fallopian tubes, and 4 lymph nodes. On June 2nd, she received a call from her doctors to have a follow-up appointment. During that follow-up appointment, she was told that no cancer was showed up on her pathology report. The pathology report after the removal of her after the removal of her cervix, her ovaries, her uterus, fallopian tubes, and such. During this appointment, surprised and confused as to how she could have all of these organs removed and then still not show up on her surgical pathology report. The doctor told her that he had an appointment with Kaiser, and the doctor at Northside Hospital told her he had an appointment with the doctors at Kaiser to get more information, and that they will provide that information for her July 1st at her second follow-up post-op appointment. July 1st, at her first post-op appointment, she was told that she indeed did have cancer, that the biopsy removed all of the cancer tissue, and that she was going to have to undergo chemotherapy treatment. It was an early form of cancer. They caught it early. It was still an aggressive form of cancer, but they told her to wait for further instructions about her treatment from Kaiser. About 4 months later, after that, she received a call from Kaiser Permanente telling her that she did not have cancer, and that the tissue that was sent from her biopsy to Quest Diagnostics did not belong to her. It belonged to another patient. After that, Miss Barksdale, hurt and just mistrusting the healthcare system, she just didn't know, what to do next. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Edmond.
Okay, and so everybody, when you file a lawsuit, and you've got all these naysayers and people who've been swayed by the media thinking that lawyers are bad people, the bottom line is this is about accountability. This woman didn't ask for this. She didn't. It came to her. She just came for regular help, and it came to her. What does she want? She wants accountability. And when I say accountability in America, we can't go and commit negligence on anybody else's relatives. It's not eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The language of accountability in America is money. So she wants accountability, but then more importantly than that, and you'll hear from her in just a second, she wants for this never to happen to anybody else. Here we are, we're living in an industry, in an era of hyper technology. We've got computers, we've got science, we've got AI. How the hell did this happen? With all of these measures that you can take, you've got Kaiser Permanente, they're making billions of dollars annually, globally, in the United States. They're making a lot of money. What happened in terms of a misstep where a tissue sample got mislabeled?
All right, you were just listening in to that press conference. Our Chase Howell, I believe, is on this story. He'll be bringing us an update on later editions of 11Alive. Let's take a quick break. We'll see you on the other side. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Faith Jesse joining you here on 11Alive 24/7. We continue to monitor stories across our backyard, the nation, and the world. Right now, we want to head over to the Middle East, where there's still confusion about this potential end to the war in Iran. We know that Iran is pushing back on assertions that President Trump say that the ceasefire talks are underway. Let's check in with NBC's Keir Simmons, who is joining us from Qatar.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is saying that there could be the announcement of a deal at any moment. And the Qatari Foreign Ministry, when I questioned them today here in Doha, says that there is a draft or drafts of a deal being passed around between capitals. It's a kind of telephone diplomacy led by, it seems, Oman, which is the country on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz. What that deal will exactly involve, well, there have been suggestions that perhaps, for example, one channel in the strait would be supervised by the Iranians for vessels to enter the Gulf here, and that the other channel would be for vessels to exit. And there have also been questions over whether there would be tolls or fees or any other kind of charges. Now, that would be completely different from the way that the Strait of Hormuz was before the war, but at least it would be the opening of that vital waterway, and we have seen oil prices drop as a result of the potential for this deal. It can also all go wrong, just as it almost did last weekend, with President Trump suggesting that he was about to launch a major attack on Iran. In Iran, there are many different competing voices. We will see whether or not the two countries and internally are able to come to a resolution, albeit an imperfect one. Keir Simmons, NBC News, Doha.
Our thanks to Keir Simmons for giving us a look on the ground there in Qatar as to what is happening in the Middle East. We will continue to monitor that situation. Something else that we're following for you, of course, it's an election year. Voters heading to the polls for primaries in a handful of states. I believe there's 5 key states tonight, along with selecting candidates for midterms in November. Some of these races could also signal what direction the parties are moving. Of course, we already had our primaries here in Georgia. Tonight's elections can be an indicator of what we are seeing in other parts of the nation and how it could impact our races as well here in Georgia. NBC's Steve Kornacki is giving us a look from the ground.
All right, taking a deep look at Michigan here, Democratic primary for U.S. Senate here. The theme of the primary season this year, if you've been watching, you know, in Democratic primaries, far-left candidates, progressive candidates have been pulling off some major and surprising wins. The question here, could there be another one in the offing? Abdul Al-Sayed running far to the left. He's endorsed by some leading Democratic socialist politicians. He says he's not a socialist, but his platform is awfully close. His support base is awfully close. He's running against sort of a traditional establishment candidate here, Congresswoman Haley Stevens. Not been a ton of polling, but that which there is has shown El-Sayed with an advantage coming into this race here. Now, the winner of this primary tonight will face off in the general election against Mike Rogers, the Republican. He nearly won the seat a couple years ago. And the significance of this primary is look, if El-Sayed does win this thing, is he too far to the left for a state like Michigan that, remember, in 2024, voted for Donald Trump. Trump won it in 2024. He won it in 2016. He lost it in 2020. Trump's 2 for 3 in this state. And that's what makes this so interesting, this primary, because we talked about the success that the far left candidates have had in other Democratic primaries this year. Those primaries have been in deep blue congressional districts. They've been in deep blue cities like Washington, D.C. That's where that insurgency on the Democratic side has had its success. If El-Sayed wins tonight, it's going to be the first one of these that's in truly swing political territory. And for Democrats who are trying to win back the United States Senate this November, this is right now a Democratic seat. The incumbent is not running for re-election. If the Democrats can't hold on to the Senate seat in Michigan, it's really hard to see how they'd have a path to flipping the control of the United States Senate overall. So really interesting stakes in this race here, Stevens versus El-Sayed on the Democratic side.
All right, our thanks to Steve Kornacki giving us a look at the big board. Of course, we will be taking a look at all of the outcomes of those races, including the one in Michigan. I believe there is a special report on NBC following that, so Steve will join the NBC crew, and we'll be playing that for you right here on 11 Alive when that happens. We also want to check in with Morgan Chesky from NBC on some wildfire damages. Wildfires broke out in Spokane, Washington. We know that they have announced, police there announcing the arrest of a man who they believe started one of these wildfires. Let's take a look with NBC's Morgan Chesky.
Yeah, here in Spokane, despite the level of devastation that we're essentially standing in the middle of, officials are quick to say that this firefight is far from over. Investigators do say, however, that this 37-year-old Spokane man identified as Aaron Farnucci that they have in custody, they believe is tied to starting the Old Trails fire, which is responsible for all of the damage that you see here. One of 3 blazes that make up that larger Spokane complex fire. This individual is expected to be in court. He's been held on suspicion of arson. And what's interesting is that authorities initially encountered him on Saturday after witnesses say that he appeared nervous and was kind of hiding in the brush near where one of these fires began. Officials did notice that on his body he had a butane lighter and waterproof matches. In the meantime, there is an all-hands-on-deck approach to try to get some level of containment on these fires. At last check, if not zero containment, it's very close to that. They're battling geography with steep terrain. They're also battling Mother Nature. Right now, the temperature isn't hot per se, but there is a heat wave headed to this area for at least the next 4 or 5 days, and that will just increase the fire risk throughout this northeastern Washington area. In the meantime, tens of thousands of people cannot even get back to what's left of their homes because these evacuation orders remain in place out of fears of a potential reignition due to the fact that it is still so dry here and that there is, in some cases, pockets of plentiful fuel. Certainly a bleak outlook right now for so many here in Spokane as these fires continue to burn. We'll send it back to you.
All right, and our thanks to Morgan for giving us a look from the ground there in Spokane. We'll take a quick break. It was great being with you all today for the stream. Zach Merchant is on deck. He'll see you after this.
All right, welcome back in 201. Your time right now on this rainy Tuesday afternoon. Zach Merchant joining you here on the 11Alive Streaming Center for the next couple hours. And it's not just me in here. It's a big team tracking all you need to know to get you through the afternoon. And we're going to start with the biggest story right now. It's the weather outside. You might have seen it. It is coming down out there. Meteorologist Danielle Moss joining us right now on the 11Alive Streaming Center. Danielle, we usually say we can't see the outside world from in here because there are no windows, but I went to the parking lot.
Yes.
I got rained on, and a lot of people are experiencing this right now.
Exactly. And in this streaming pod, you can't hear the outside world either. I was just in the studio doing an on-air cut-in, and I could hear the rain. Yep. You can't hear it back here. It's
That's why we have you here to tell us what's going on. So what do we got going on?
I can confirm it's actually raining outside. Here's a look at your current satellite and radar just to back me up on it. It's definitely raining really hard around the 285 perimeter, and that's been the problem area pretty much all afternoon long. So what we're looking at, heavy rain showers, they're trying to slack up, Zach, which is good news. We want to see that rainfall really come to a complete stop, because if you put this into motion over the last hour or so, we really have been seeing these rain showers dump a lot of rain, but now we're starting to see them disperse. You can see them spreading out just a little bit. That big dark red color, that signifies that heavy rain. It's starting to turn more into yellow and green, and that's what we want to see. That's going to allow us to really slack up. We had this video sent into us. They said they took this around 12:30 this afternoon. Whoa. This is 75 near Jonesboro Road in Morrow in Clayton County. You need a boat.
That's more than a couple inches standing there.
Exactly. And this is on 75, once again, in Jonesboro Road, and it's been actively raining there. The interesting part about this is that there was not a flash flood warning when this rain was falling. It did not meet the criteria just yet, but there is a flash flood warning right now for portions of Cobb and Fulton County until 3:45. So let's go back to the radar. Let's turn on some of our rainfall, and let's gauge how much rain has been falling in that area, because that's been really, you can see it. So in fact, I'll circle it. This is one of my favorite parts about being in the stream. It's kind of like doing severe weather. So we have time to talk and circle and draw. This is
great. Every time you're in here, Danielle, we learn.
This is the area that has been our focus all afternoon. So stretching from Cobb all the way back into Henry counties, right through the 285 perimeter, right through the heart of Atlanta. It is definitely a big problem with the heavy rain. So that's the one focus that we have. And when you say, okay, well, Danielle, how much rainfall have we had? Let's do some rainfall totals. In fact, I will zoom in and do a little moving so we can see. So McDonough, that's south of where that video was. And in case you're unfamiliar, Morrow is near Forest Park. So if I do some gauging to see how much rain we have had so far, McDonough has had pretty good, almost 2 inches there, almost 2 inches there in DeKalb County, almost 2.5 inches there near Smyrna and north of Sandy Springs. That's really getting to the Kennesaw area, starting to see almost 2.5 there as well. So that's pretty substantial rain. Most of that rainfall, it's all 24-hour based, but really most of that rainfall in the last few hours, and all because of this one shower that won't move. And we're not the only ones seeing it. You can see the rain stretches all the way back, even going into Greene County, even some of Putnam County. We're seeing a lot of heavy rain and a lot of thunderstorms. And if I zoom out some more and take a look at what's happening in North Georgia, so north of 285, even going into Paulding County and Dallas, we're seeing some heavy rain showers develop, even going into Gordon County. Unfortunately, I was saying in Fannin County, which is up in the North Georgia mountains, that just had all that rain in McKaysville, not in McKaysville in the last hour, but still in portions of Fannin County where we're talking about rivers and mountains, so that could prompt some potential flooding concerns. So in the city is different from when you're talking about rain showers in mountain country. If we have these showers park over us in 30 minutes to an hour, we could see very dangerous flooding concerns. In the North Georgia mountains, if you see a shower park over there for maybe an hour to 2 hours, that's when their flooding risk really increases, because you're not only talking about urbanized flooding, you're also talking about the potential for some river flooding as well. And right now, that's not the case, which is great news. I want to clarify that. That's not what we're seeing. However, we are definitely seeing a lot of heavy rain and a few strong thunderstorms. When I say strong, this is like your lightning. I know it looks a little bit funky there, but this is looking at your lightning in the last 15 minutes. It has been a lot of lightning really around the metro area. So a lot of strong thunderstorms have been developing, and it's something that we're going to continue to keep our eye on. If you want to see exactly what's happening outside, this is like our Truist Park camera. Earlier, you could barely see anything. The visibility was really low. You're starting to see things clearing out. This is another big part of the weather story. The good news is you saw that airplane taking off there. Delays, though, 2 hours. So they have a air traffic mitigation protocol, what they do. So it's not a ground stop, but at the world's busiest airport, it might as well be a ground stop.
If you were on that airplane that just took off, count your blessings, because
absolutely,
a 2-hour delay.
I'll tell you what, though, Zach, I bet you those people were sitting on the tarmac for at least an hour there.
I was doing that on Sunday, trying to get back here from D.C., but, misery loves company, I guess.
Exactly. So, yeah, well, I mean, what we're seeing right now, no ground stop. That ground stop was lifted at 12:45, but they are definitely delaying flights to try to help with these pulsating thunderstorms. So we just want to make sure that you're aware. Go ahead and get your airline app out. Go ahead and look at your FAA notifications to keep an eye on it, because it could start raining there again. It's been raining off and on at the airport all day long. This is like our Northside Drive Hospital near Georgia 400 and 285, and traffic is at a crawl almost on portions of 285. It is definitely very slow and go. And a live look into Midtown, where we could hear the rain over our studio. This is further south into Midtown, but we're definitely hearing some of those showers. I love when it rains and our tower camera is gorgeous, because this looks almost like a movie. It's very picturesque, almost Gotham City-like, but it's beautiful out there.
Isn't that dramatic?
Yeah, but this is what it looks like above us, courtesy of our tower camera there in DeKalb County. So we're going to continue to watch these showers and thunderstorms, and people might be thinking, well, what can I expect? What's going to happen? Over the next 2-3 hours, we're going to continue to see these pulsating storms. Some of them will weaken and dissipate and move out of here, but some of them will continue to drop a lot of rain. So just make sure that you are weather aware. I keep saying this because I have nieces and nephews that drive, and some of them might not feel comfortable driving in this heavy rain. So if you have a high schooler, who might not be used to this, you want to give them a heads up as soon as you can that, hey, there's going to be some traffic concerns for sure. And there's also going to be the potential for some ponding, because just because it's not actively raining right now doesn't mean it's not coming. And then, Zach, even as we head, good news is Wednesday morning looking dry.
Hey, look at Wednesday.
But as we head into the afternoon, look there.
Oh, look at Wednesday.
I know. Another chance for these really scattered showers and thunderstorms. Same for your Thursday. Thursday morning, nice and dry, but then here it is again.
Less great.
Yeah, so you just want to make sure that you are being weather aware. I want to go back to this video because I think that this is very telling of the situation. Once again, this was on 75 near Jonesboro Road, exit like 233, I think they said. This is in Morrow, Georgia.
And this was a little while ago?
Yes.
Do we know like roughly time stamp when that happened?
I think they said like 12:30, so
okay.
A few hours ago. But these heavy downpours, they really caused some concerns, and you can see that, traffic on both sides, whether it's northbound or southbound, was dealing with the exact same thing. And that's also very scary as a driver when you're driving and the water is splashing up, on your windshield from someone else's car. That's something that you cannot predict.
And that really is sort of quintessential flash flooding, right?
Yes.
It can occur in a fairly narrow area. It can spin up like that and then kind of dissipate really quickly. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but something like that we look at, we don't know the exact cause, but it could be something as simple as a couple drainage, I don't want to call them ditches, but drainage applications, drains, being jammed up, being clogged, and you get a lot of rain all at once, poof, now you have this.
Exactly. In fact, the person who sent this in said it appears that the drainage system cannot keep up with the rainfall. So that could be very true, and this is no fault to GDOT. I mean, it's Metro Atlanta, and the state of Georgia is very large. So going through and cleaning every single drain would be a very difficult task. And to be honest, you never know when these showers just kind of park themselves, and then you end up seeing a situation like this where, unfortunately, it just a lot of rain in a little amount of time. And to be honest, this is exactly what happened in McKaysville. It just was
on a much broader scale.
Exactly.
And we should point out here too, we don't know what the cause of this little isolated flash flooding is here, but just to demonstrate, Danielle, this is why we cover this stuff, and this is why you and the rest of the team keep us on top of this, because it can happen really quickly, and then sometimes it's as fast as we see a video like this, we get a news crew out there and it's dry again.
And it's gone.
But if you're a driver, it doesn't matter if it's dry an hour later. It's something that you've got to deal with right away.
Exactly. And speaking of dealing with it, Zach, this is a look at our traffic right now. I was telling you about what was happening in Cobb County. This is 285 at Paces Ferry Road in Cobb County. It is definitely slow and go, should I say. Almost completely stopped. Jordan, if you pull up Max 3, that would give us a view of exactly what's going on out there. It is what some would say a mess.
Very slow going.
Very. Almost no go. I can see that people are trying to get off at the exit there, but it is very slow go. This is 285. There is some type of incident there. I've been kind of, in fact, I just got a notification, so I'm going to see if I can pull that up in 1 second. Apparently there's some flooding in DeKalb County. Let me see if I can figure out where that is. 285 near Glenwood Road. Okay, so you guys are going to see some real-time action here. What's going on?
All right,
so
Danielle.
This is a closer look at what's happening in Cobb County first. Since I'm here, let's get into this accident first that's causing the delays there in Cobb County. So this is at 285 and Atlanta Road that's causing some really big backups. So if you are in that area, it does look like it's southbound. You just need to make sure that you are using caution. And also in DeKalb County, there's some reports of flooding. So that's what I'm trying to get you your video of right now. I think that's probably one of the best things about doing streaming is that you can do some real-time investigative work, especially when you know exactly where you're talking about here. I'm trying to get this camera up for you, Jordan.
I'm glad you took us to that too, Danielle, while you work on that, because when we were looking at the broader map of the traffic situation across the metro, you saw the reasonably typical, pretty much whenever it rains, the downtown connector, what's going through the core of downtown Atlanta slows down precipitously because of the precipitation. But then you narrowed in on exactly what I was wondering, which is you see this stretch out in Cobb County where the map indicator is red.
Exactly.
And this is the beauty of being in the streaming center right now, because you can answer our questions as they emerge right away.
Exactly. What's going on?
What is going on? And we're going to get an answer.
Yes. And, that is just a crash. So, when we see these accidents and we see things happen, just like we were just saying a few moments ago, sometimes it's a situation where if we send a crew, by the time they get out there, it's completely gone. Sometimes it's definitely not worth sending a crew. It might be a little fender bender. And that's probably exactly what happened. It was storming. And I do mean coming down on 285 and in Cobb County. I'm trying to figure out this. Delays through Clarkston. Sometimes you just unfortunately get caught in some really, really heavy downpours. I think this is in DeKalb County and it's going to be going southbound.
Yeah, we do see that slowdown over in DeKalb though, as well.
That's exactly what I'm trying to. Yes, Jordan found it before me. Thank you, Jordan. I was trying to pull it up on the.
This is the one at DeKalb.
Yes. So that's what's happening. That's the flooding there in DeKalb. This is actually, for reference, this is at exit 44 on 285 southbound. So flooding ongoing right now in DeKalb County. So that's one of the things that I was telling you about. Sometimes, we're about to get into the beginning of rush hour traffic. People are going to try to go and pick up their kids from schools and things. You just want to make sure that you are being very cautious. Thankfully, you can see that there are police on the scene there, and they are trying to divert traffic there. Oh, there's a lot of water. Yeah. What camera number is that, Jordan? Do you know? 687. Okay. Perfect. Let's see if I can pull up a backup too, just so.
Another good, as we take a look at this, just another good reminder too. When you hear GDOT, when you hear others, when you hear us, remind to go slower than you usually drive, particularly in Georgia, particularly around Atlanta. We move quickly here. Slowing down when it rains is not just, folks hectoring you. It's really good advice. You could be going along and all of a sudden you go around a turn and you see a big slowdown in front of you. It's always a good idea to be moving reasonably, responsibly, but when the road is slick, it takes you that much longer to slow down when you suddenly have to make a slowdown or make a turn, or somebody merges in, as you see here in this DeKalb live shot. When people are trying to merge onto the highway, there's water on the road, you're moving slowly, you're changing lanes, you gotta take your time.
You have to, and that's key, Zach. One of the things that I was talking to Faith about was that a lot of times people, they put their flashers on because they cannot see, and that's really, it's against Georgia traffic laws. You're supposed to pull over. You're supposed to get off the exit, because realistically, if you can't see, you should not be driving. So it's one of the things that people don't think about, even as far as sometimes you might drive through water and you're not thinking it's going to cause that big of a splash. So you have to be very cognizant of what's happening on the roadways. And today, because of all the rain, we're definitely seeing the impacts of that. So I'm going to see if I can get some more information on that and see what's going on, when they're expecting it to clear. I have another hit and I can come back in a little bit earlier if I can, Jordan. But just for people who are listening, watching, this is 285 and this is in DeKalb County, causing some really big delays. It's southbound, so unfortunately the delays are backed up to Clarkson. So it's a lot going on, Zach, for a Tuesday. And we're working through it, though.
We always do. We are always working through it, thanks to you and the rest of the team keeping us on top of everything. I always have so many questions for you, but you got to go to another TV hit, so we're going to let you run, and let's make sure we get you back in here as soon as you get free, because my sense is that this is going to be an afternoon where we're going to keep a close eye on the weather.
Yes, absolutely.
And the traffic. So, Danielle, thank you very much. We'll see you in a little bit. 2:18 is our time right now on a busy Tuesday afternoon. A lot more coming up. We're going to take a very brief break. Much more in just a couple minutes. Immigrant communities are paying close attention right now as there are reports of increased ICE activity across the country, including in some places here in Georgia. So we're going to turn right now to immigration attorney Jameen Christian with JustAnswer.com, who has been with us a number of times, helping us make sense of and break down immigration policy and the law that undergirds it. Jameen is back with us again. Jameen, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me back, Zach.
So let's start with this. We've seen some scattered reports around the country. What exactly is going on and where is it happening?
Okay, so if we're talking about ICE at the airports, and that's what's the news of the day, TSA and ICE entered into an agreement back in May of last year where TSA is sharing travelers' information with ICE. And what they're doing is they're doing targeted pickups at ICE at U.S. airports. So we're thinking about 15 airports. They're not releasing where because they don't want you to know, but definitely here in Atlanta, San Francisco, LAX, Chicago, and they're going in and they're taking into custody people with expired visas and pending applications.
When you say targeted in the sense of it's at these certain airports, this list of 15 that according to you, we know a few of, but we don't know the full list, or targeted in the sense of specific individuals are being sought by immigration authorities when and if they go to and try to make their way through TSA at these airports?
The latter. So absolutely, they are having that information that they're receiving from TSA, so they know your name. TSA is sharing that information with ICE. They see if you have an expired visa, if you are in removal proceedings, so they know who you are, they know where you will be, and they're literally showing up at the airport looking for John Doe, going to the gate, checking their paperwork, looking at the photographs, seeing the person in the terminal, and then taking them into custody.
Let me ask you this question from both perspectives, because obviously immigration policy, immigration law has been at the center of our national political discourse, and if you call it debate, I think would be a neutral term to describe it. So. It's an issue that has got heated perspectives on both sides of the aisle. Let me ask you from this angle first, is it legal for ICE, for immigration authorities, to do that?
Absolutely. If you are out of status, you are out of status. You do not have a right to be in the United States. Airports are public spaces, right? So you don't need a warrant for the most part. And that's another reason why. You know, when we had the argument, well, you don't have a warrant. You don't have a right to be in my home. You don't have a right to be in my business. An airport, public space, government property for the most part. So they don't need a warrant. It's easier to do. They have the individual probable cause, and they take the person into custody, and it's fully legal.
And you have every reason to initiate that conversation as well, because anytime you want to get through the TSA security checkpoint, you've got to give up your ID.
Absolutely.
So that step is also, from the perspective of immigration enforcement, that box is checked, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you from the other perspective. I can imagine some conservatives may look at the situation and say, if your paperwork is in order, if you have abided by immigration law, you don't have anything to worry about here. Mm-hmm. Is that true, or is that a simplification of the matter?
I think it's a simplification because prior to this surge at the airports, if you had a pending asylum application, you did not have status, but you were waiting for an adjudication on your case. So people could travel domestically, and they are doing it by the law, right? I'm waiting for someone to make a decision on my case. So now I want to take a family trip to Disney World, right? And I'm going to do that through the airport. So technically, you are out of status. Technically, you can be removed. But prior to this surge, prior to this collaboration with TSA, you would not be interfered with by the government at all.
You're an immigration attorney. You have a good perspective on all of this that I think lay folks sometimes don't. You get to look behind the curtain a little bit as you're working with clients, as you're working in the space of the law. We hear anecdotally about a pretty substantial backlog in the time it takes from the initiation of any form of immigration legal work, whether it's removal proceedings or asylum applications or any kind of number of issues, to the point of final adjudication. Is that true? And if so, how big of a backlog is it?
That is absolutely true. When we're thinking about asylum, there are over 4 million cases waiting to be adjudicated. So
in the United States, 4 million plus people here in the United States.
People who came in, right? Some without documentation, and you can, right? Because you're making a claim, persecution, you don't want to return. You come to the border and you're allowed in. Some people are here, they came in lawfully, and now there's war in their home countries, or laws have changed in their race, their gender, their sexuality, it's those topics, those areas, you're being heavily persecuted, they don't want to return. So you file an asylum application, and that's doing it legally. But there's a 4 million case backlog. So what I believe is happening now, it's just too many loopholes, and there are too many people here, according to the current administration. And now, because you technically do not have status, you are being detained. Now, you can still have an opportunity to go before an immigration judge, but you're kind of being fast-tracked.
You mentioned the judge aspect of this. I wonder, and at the risk of maybe getting too into the weeds here myself, but I think this is germane to what we're talking about. Is this backlog an issue of just a big surge all of a sudden in claims? Let's just talk about asylum, in asylum claims. Or is it a function of not having enough judges to keep up with the claims, or some combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. You do have people who have the opportunity to come here, don't wish to return for legitimate reasons, and of course, reasons that are not too legitimate, and knowing that they can indeed file for asylum and wait for that application to be adjudicated, and know that it will take a number of years, and you can get a work permit, and you can work lawfully. So it's a combination of both, and not having enough immigration judges, immigration officers to adjudicate these cases, and that's why we have the backlog.
What do clients tell you? What do folks who are working through the system tell you when you talk to them?
They throw up their hands. You know, they're looking for an answer. They're looking for immigration attorneys to fix something that we literally cannot fix, because we want people to know their rights. We don't want to teach them to avoid the law. We want them to understand the law. And sometimes we just have to tell them, based on existing immigration law and current policy, we're at a standstill. There's really not much we can do for you, but we can teach you on how to exist in this climate if you decide to stay here.
Let me ask you a big question here. You have a good perspective on all of this. You get to see it all from a kind of unique vantage point. You mentioned your conversations with clients, and right away you said they kind of throw up their hands. You wave a magic wand. How does this all get fixed?
Well, we have to go through Congress, right? We have to have a meeting of the minds, right, so to speak. We have to have people realize, people who make the rules, that we need immigrants. Immigrants are a foundation of the United States, but we need people to follow the law. We need to know who's here, because you do have to protect the homeland, but we have to find a path that we don't have families ripped apart at airports, have family members taken to far-flung places, and you have mixed status families where you have a U.S. citizen spouse and the other spouse, they have a pending application, and now they're no longer in the home, and now they're in Louisiana, they're in Lumpkin County, Georgia. So we have to have a way to do it humanely, to fix it so that the people who should not be here are not here, and the people who deserve to be here and deserve can find a legal pathway to be here and remain here.
A couple last questions for you here, Jermaine. You mentioned, split status families. Once somebody does get into removal proceedings, taken into immigration custody, and that legal saga begins, how long does it typically take from beginning to end?
Well, there are categories. You can have expedited removal. So if you're in the country for less than 2 years, you could be on a fast path right out of the country.
How long does that take?
That can take, well, we do have backlogs, right? It can take a matter of months. It can take a year. It can, because you're in custody and you're still waiting for your cue for an immigration judge to adjudicate your case. But with expedited removal, for the most part, you don't get a chance to have an immigration judge adjudicate your case, right? But normally, if you are in removal proceedings, it can take a while, and sometimes you can be monitored and you have to check in, so you have the ICE check-ins. So it depends on the jurisdiction you're in, how many cases are before you. There's really no time certain. So you have people really living in uncertainty.
And the last question for somebody who might be watching this who may have questions about their own status, the legality of their current status, what would you advise them to do if they do have those questions?
Okay, I always say this, we're immigration attorneys, we are officers of the court. We want people to know their rights. We don't want them to avoid the law. We want them to understand the law. So to understand the law, speak with an immigration attorney. JustAnswer.com, verified immigration attorneys are there to help you in the privacy of your own home, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ask your questions, get your answers, and you know how to move in this climate.
All right, Jameen Christian, we always appreciate your perspective and your time helping us make sense of an issue that seems to be evolving sometimes by the day.
It is. Thank you, Zach.
Jameen, thank you as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, 2:31. Your time right now this Tuesday afternoon. We're going to take a very brief break. Much more to come. We'll see you in a couple minutes. back to school has begun. And if you are like me, if you're like a lot of people who call Georgia home, it kind of starts to feel like the beginning of fall. And if you are like me and like a lot of people here in Georgia, that means it's kind of starting to feel like football season, like college football season is about to be upon us. We're joined right now by Marcus Greaves, who knows a thing or two about college football. He played, he covers it now, and he sits close to me in the newsroom, so I'm always just learning by osmosis from the expert here. And you spent the morning, training camp has begun at Kennesaw State.
Yes,
You're
sir.
out this morning. What'd you see? What's the mood? What's the sense from this team that is in the second year of their head coach right now?
Yeah, well, of course, after 10 wins last season and their first ever bowl game, I mean, Kennesaw State, they're riding the high right now.
They had a great season.
They did. And they had some big games, too. But more importantly, it's one of those things where you want to keep that momentum going. And I think head coach Jerry Mack laid that foundation in his first season. Now they're heading into year two where, you know, at practice today, what we heard from a lot of the players and Coach Mack was, listen, last year was great, and we're very happy that we were able to dominate the way we did, have the success the way we did. But last year's success isn't going to do anything for us this year. So I know it's coach cliche talk, new season, new roster, especially with the transfer portal and things like that. But, you know, they're just excited to be back out there. And the energy felt high, but not too high where it was one of those things where you could tell they're like, oh, man, like, you know, let's bring the energy today. It's like, we know what we have to do. We're happy to be back out here. But, you know, it's a new season, which means there's going to be new challenges, but also new heights that we can reach. So it felt like they were really excited to be out there.
You know, we were talking off camera a second ago. We're starting to feel like old guys a little
Yes.
bit. You know, we like morning practice. And we like, you know, coach talk to me. I used to roll my eyes a little bit in school.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, okay.
Hey, I get it.
Give me some coach cliches. I like this. Kennesaw State, they're back. Obviously, Georgia Tech has also opened up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the outlook for Tech as they go into this season?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because last year Tech had a phenomenal start. I mean, best start in school history. And to be honest with you, when you had a guy like Haynes King at your quarterback, I mean, a guy that should have been on the Heisman watch the entire season. You lose a guy like that. They obviously fell off towards the end of the season, losing 4 tough games, losing their bowl game to BYU. But again, new season brings new challenges, but also new optimism. And, you know, Alberto Mendoza, younger brother of Fernando Mendoza, Heisman winner last year for Indiana, is probably going to be QB1, which is good, hey, that's exciting. DeAndre Hopkins comes in as an assistant wide receiver coach now. That's cool as well.
Talk about learning from some of the best.
I mean, and that's really all that matters. And Tech has some really cool games. You got Deion Sanders in Colorado coming to Bobby Dodd Stadium. Then you have Tennessee coming to Bobby Dodd Stadium. I mean, there's a lot of cool things going for Tech. Now, we don't really know the outlook of this roster just yet. I think that, like every other team, you feel really good about the transfer portal and the guys that you get. They got Justice Haynes, a local guy. He was at Alabama, was at Michigan, one of the best, in my opinion, probably the best running back in all of college football. You get a guy like that coming back home to Georgia Tech with Brent Key. It's going to be fun. I think Georgia Tech can have another very successful season. I don't know if it's going to be to the level of what we saw last season, but anything can happen in college football, man.
Let's dwell on that point for a second. And I want to ask you this question about both Kennesaw State and Tech, but we're talking about Tech, so let's start here. What are going to be the keys for success for Tech, particularly coming off of that season last year that saw some really high highs and some kind of gut punch lows?
Yeah, well, you know, Brent Key will say this too. It's always going to start in the trenches, of course. He was an offensive lineman at Tech, but I'm not worried about the offensive and defensive line for Tech. I'm not worried about their run game. I'm very curious to see what Mendoza is going to do at quarterback. You know, I think that's going to be the most important thing because whether we all like to admit it or not, you're not going to have any success without good quarterback play. So if Mendoza, of course, can at least do somewhat of what his brother's going to do, I mean, I think Tech is going to be in a good position. But also, I'm curious to see what that wide receiver room is going to look like. You know, I think Tech lost some guys in the transfer portal. They lost some guys to graduation, moving on, whatever it is. So I'm curious to see that group and what that is going to be like. But, you know, if you're Tech, you got to start fast. I mean, you got some big games to start off the season. Like I said, you have Colorado. If you can get a big win against Deion and his squad, which they haven't been great, but A win like that will do wonders for you. And then I think personally, if you beat a team like Tennessee, Zach, you're off to the races, brother. I mean, that's a big SEC team coming into Bobby Dodd Stadium. I don't even know the last time that they played each other like that. So, especially in Bobby Dodd, that might be a question for our producer Megan, but she's grinding back there. So
she is grinding, and she just sneezed.
Bless you.
Don't say the folks behind the lens are not working hard. We'll any chance we get to get Megan on, we always love it. So Megan, the invite is there, but we know you're doing a lot. Marcus, let's shift gears now. Let's talk about Kennesaw State a little bit. Their season last year, I mean, was pretty electric.
It was.
They had a great year, 10 wins.
Yeah.
The keys to success this year, to keep it rolling.
Yeah.
What do they got to do?
Yeah. I think just keep that. They have the foundation, which is the most important thing. And it's tough anytime you get a new coaching staff because, again, Kennesaw State, once they bumped up to Division I, not D1AA, Division I Power 5, I mean, it was tough. It was tough for them. Where you see what they were able to do this last season, but that was a combination of getting guys in the transfer portal, which, again, head coach Jerry Mack said that after practice today, is that, listen, we finally got the chance to go get our guys. We had the chance to go in the transfer portal and really take the time and not feel rushed, handpick our guys. And he said one thing that really stuck with me was, like, you can't fall in love with the talent that you see in the transfer portal. You have to get the guys that fit your system. And he was saying that that's really what they did in this offseason, was not marry every guy that they could that had an unreasonable amount of talent, but really handpick the guys that they think were going to really fit their system. And, they did have their quarterbacks move on, which will be very interesting to see. Again, quarterback play I think is very important, but ultimately he was really high on his guys in the trenches. And I know we can kind of see it. We saw some of them just in that film that we had where, man, they got some big dudes now. Last season, head coach Jerry Mack was saying that we didn't have the size, but what we did have was the skill. I think this is something where he was saying we have the size and the skill now, which I think is going to be very important. Not to rant and ramble, but, man, college football is here, Zach. I'm excited for it.
First off, this is Georgia, all right? You can rant and ramble about college football as long as you want. I think if you listen to the radio, there's a whole industry dedicated to it. They've done great.
Right.
So we can always make some space for that in the stream pod here. You talk about the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. We're in a different era of college football, and even it feels like NIL opened the door, that Supreme Court decision. But even in the years following the decision in the NIL era continues to morph and evolve and change. How is that going to be a factor in this upcoming season?
I think it's going to be interesting to see when it comes to teams like Kennesaw State where, yes, of course, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Oregons, they're going to get those guys with the high NIL deals, the $1 million plus deals and whatnot. But for those guys who might be going to some schools and they don't do very well, not that they don't do very well, but they're not seeing as much playing time, maybe not as much NIL, this is a great chance for them to maybe bump down a level and go to a place like Kennesaw State and really shine. Then from there, unfortunately, you don't want a Kennesaw State to be a stepping stone, but I went to Oregon State, brother. I already know how that goes, where you have success at a smaller school and then you can take that next step. You're going to get paid more NIL money at the bigger school. So it's kind of the thing where, yes, the transfer portal might not be everybody's favorite. NIL might not be everybody's favorite. But I'll tell you this, if your guys are transferring out of the school, that's probably because they did really well, which ultimately means you're going to have team success. So it is tough. It is tough for us folks that went to smaller schools that would love to see our, Power 4-ish on the outside looking in school, be very successful. But NIL, I think, has opened the door for a lot of players to also have the power in their hands, which I think is very important as well.
Us folks who went to smaller schools, says a D1 guy and a D3 rower.
Hey, we talk about it. D3 rowing is challenging.
Yeah, don't sleep on D3. The NIL money, believe it or not, hasn't quite made it to the NESCAC rowing circuit. But give us another 60 years, maybe we'll be there. Well, let me ask you this, Marcus, before we let you go. I mean, you gave us a good breakdown of the college football landscape in this new and constantly evolving era, talking about the interplay between the traditional big schools, the perennial powerhouses, and the evolving, trying to grow schools like Kennesaw State. Does this new environment, the transfer portal, the way it is currently situated, and the NIL environment, does it make it easier or harder for those striving schools to become powers in their own right?
I think personally it makes it easier because
Really?
I think that does.
You don't think they become kind of talent factories and their best always get poached?
Which they do, and that's the tough part. But also, it's going to be a talent that's 4th, 5th string at Georgia, 4th, 5th string at Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, and they just want to play. And you got to get some NIL money somehow. So
and perhaps, I mean, in your theory, in your look of it, you see a place that's constantly producing folks who are, I don't want to say going to the next level, but they're performing and they're moving on.
Yeah.
And that creates a positive feedback loop for the school that's sending talent on elsewhere.
Yep. Some talent leaves, some talent comes in, and that's just going to be the harsh reality of those smaller schools.
Do they want to be that, though?
I don't think anybody wants to be that, but I think you have to embrace that. And I think if you don't, you are being a little delusional when it comes to college football. Because, again, let's just be realistic. Those top 10, top 25 teams, they're going to get the cream of the crop talent. They just are. Everybody else, unfortunately, you're going to have to get whatever is left over, but that's not like leftover is bad. I mean, if you're a Division I Power 5 player or you're a Division I player in general, you have talent, and you are good enough to play anywhere. I mean, it's just a matter of, are you going to be a starter or are you going to be a backup? If not, you're probably going to move on and want to go somewhere to go be a backup or be a starter somewhere else.
You know, something tells me the conversation about NIL and the transfer portal, this isn't going to be the only conversation we have about it.
No.
This is not going to be the only conversation had about it on college sports radio or on cable or anywhere else. We're going to, I mean, look, this is the conversation. It's always going to be the conversation. Let's end on a non-controversial note here. Not that we've been deep in the controversy weeds.
Of course not.
You're a former college football player.
Yes, sir.
You love the game. You cover the game. Georgia's a great football state.
Yes.
Atlanta is a great football city. It is a statewide thing.
Yes.
When you get to this point of the year, when the calendar flips over and it's getting ready, camps back in session, classes are going to start up. I mean, it's feeling like college football season again. What does that do to you? You getting fired up?
Man, I mean, I'm telling you, I was out at practice. It does.
You ready to put the pads back on?
For a period of practice, yes. For about 5-10 minutes, I'll do some running back individual drills. That's about it.
You're not doing Oklahoma drills?
No.
I don't think you can do that anymore.
Yeah. I don't think they do that anymore. Hey, listen, we were talking about we're kind of the old heads now. We
were doing that in middle school.
Back in my day, that's what we did. We don't do that anymore. But it's an exciting time, and we could just end on this, man, is that being from the West Coast, coming here to see how Georgia football is, how it's played at every level is insane. I mean, seeing these high school kids now, these high school kids look like I did in college, like I said, as a Division I player. So the game has evolved. I was left in the dust, baby. So this is going to be a fun time. High school, college, NFL, you name it. Football is here, and of course, here in the South, we take it a little different.
Let's go, man. It just means more.
It just means more, baby.
It just means more.
Let's go.
All right. Well, we know we can always have these conversations here in the Stream Pod. Left in the dust, Marcus? I don't know. I think you're being a little humble here.
Hey.
I think you're in a little more than that. We're going to continue this conversation later, Marcus. Thank you as always. Thanks for getting out there, going to practice this morning. And here's to a great football season. We're just getting started.
Let's do it, man.
2:48 is our time right now. It is still the summer. You're looking at that radar loop there. A little bit of rain across the metro. We're tracking that. A check of our forecast coming up in a little bit. More news as well. We're going to take a very brief break. We'll be right back. Welcome back in. We're taking you up to Capitol Hill right now, where the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism is holding a hearing on AI data surveillance and the money and the profit sometimes generated from it. Let's listen in.
A 2025 Federal Trade Commission report confirms that companies are already deploying surveillance pricing in major industries. But surveillance pricing isn't just unfair. It erodes transparency and predictability and makes it harder for families to budget, let alone comparison shop. As we do more of our shopping online and on our phones, we have no idea if we're being charged a different price than our neighbor. I'm often asked what consumers can do to protect themselves. But uncovering surveillance pricing requires comparing prices across users, devices, and locations all at once. That is a tough task for veteran researchers, yet alone ordinary consumers. The answer can't be to teach everyone how to beat the machine. We must set rules of the road so the machine plays fair. Clear and transparent prices are essential for a functioning capitalist economy. The good news is momentum is on the side of shoppers. This year alone, more than 40 bills in 24 states, red and blue alike, have been introduced and passed to curtail surveillance pricing. More than 3/4 of Americans support banning the practice entirely. It's not too late to preserve fair pricing in America. We can start by pricing products again rather than people. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Next is Mr. Robert Hedges. Mr. Hedges formerly served as Visa's Chief Data Officer. He now works as a digital fellow at the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy. Mr. Hedges, nice to have you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Durbin, for the opportunity to be here today and talk about this very important topic. Yesterday, I submitted detailed testimony on how surveillance pricing works, the supporting data flows and tech stack, the major data ecosystem players, the history of patents and corporate acquisitions in the space, how to quantify the consumer harm, and a set of opportunities to best rein it in. In the available time this afternoon, I'd like to do three things. One, quickly explain how surveillance pricing works. Secondly, and very importantly, identify the key consumer behavior data elements and how they're collected and actually used. And then finally, spotlight what should be the priority policy solution. First, how surveillance pricing works. Retailers and digital platforms collect data about consumers from many sources, including shopping history, web browsing activities, locational data, inferred purchase intent, device type, battery life, mouse clicks, loyalty programs, and payment card activity. And they assemble and analyze it into a detailed view of consumers' priorities. The data is assembled in what is called an identity graph, mapping all the data that is collected about you into a single consumer profile. These detailed profiles know or infer your behavior, preferences, health conditions, relationship status, presence of children, and countless other behavioral attributes. Your consumer profile can then be managed to produce signals about what a consumer might want. Signals project your future shopping needs, your brand loyalty, your typical shopping behavior, your sense of urgency to make a purchase, and your willingness to pay. That's the expression, your willingness to pay, AKA price sensitivity. The signals are used by marketers, advertisers, digital marketplaces, and retailers to inform their pricing strategy. As you would imagine, consumer behavior-based signals are valuable. The use of signals can increase the effectiveness of targeted advertising, strengthen the conversion rate on marketing leads, inform marketing messages to encourage purchase, and support surveillance pricing models. So what are those data elements? The inputs used by surveillance pricing models are quite specific. Willingness to pay is the data science and marketing analytics term used to characterize a consumer's price sensitivity. A high willingness to pay means the consumer is less price sensitive, really wants to purchase the product, has a strong urgent need, or simply declines to negotiate. A high willingness to pay suggests the consumer's desire for a product or service is not going to dampen by a higher price. In contrast, a low willingness to pay suggests price sensitivity. A consumer who has low willingness to pay is going to carefully comparison shop, look for better deals, ask for a discount, or simply leave the unpurchased item in their shopping cart. Signals regarding consumers' relative willingness to pay can be inferred using a variety of sources of consumer data. The relevant data can be sorted into several categories. Location, the zip code or internet address serving as a proxy for your income and buying power. Time of day, the time of day that your research, search, or shopping is occurring, reflecting how much thought and reflection you may be putting into the purchase. Purchase history, your account status, such as your purchase history with a retailer, your loyalty program participation, all measures of your commitment to a specific brand or product category. Digital access, your type of phone or computer, its operating system, and the fingerprint it leaves behind, which can help identify you. Shopping intent or referral source, the shopping search path that brought you to the desired product, such as a direct Google search for a specific model item, or coming from a coupon aggregator site where everyone's looking for a better deal. Shopping behavior cues, your trackable digital behaviors, such as how long you linger on a website, how often you return, the speed with which you maneuver through an online product catalog, and finally, the rate at which you abandon products in your digital shopping cart, all provide a measure of the consumer's sense of urgency. And finally, comparison shopping behavior, the number of product detail pages, or PDPs, that you open on a shopping journey signals active comparison shopping. Opening multiple PDPs indicates the consumer may be actively comparing products and features. These are all consumer behavior cues from which the willingness to pay can be inferred. Willingness to pay then becomes a variable in developing pricing strategies and tactics, and has been implemented across a wide range of retail and hospitality categories, including groceries, household goods, apparel, airlines, and hotels. Some of the technology to capture consumer behavior is relatively intuitive and straightforward. Other solutions are complex and highly technical. To track real-time consumer shopping behavior and derive their...
All right, as we continue to listen in to the early stages of this Senate hearing on AI and surveillance pricing, we're going to continue to monitor this, but we are going to take a brief break. And when we come back, you've likely been keeping an eye on the live radar at the bottom of your screen there. The expert is here, meteorologist Danielle Moss. She has just walked into the 11Alive Streaming Center. We're going to take a very brief break. And when we come back, her forecast, the latest on what's turned out to be a day of weather worth paying attention to. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back in. We're going to go straight over to meteorologist Danielle Moss joining us here now. Once again in the 11Alive Streaming Center. Danielle, we always love it when you visit us over here, even if you got to bring us some news. It's a little rainy out there.
Yes, it is a little bit rainy, but Zach, it's getting better.
This
so
is
that's
why
good
we
news.
like having you over here. Look at that.
Exactly. We are starting to see things slack up just a little bit, at least around Metro Atlanta. But unfortunately, we're already starting to see some traffic concerns. And I know, and
you
hearing
got us going there, Danielle.
Sorry. I can only give you a little bit of good news.
All right,
but
what do we got? Let's see.
It's starting to dry out. Here's a look at your satellite and radar. We'll start with that, and then we'll get into the traffic part of it. This is a look over the last hour. You can see that the heavy showers are really dispersing. They are going eastward, they're going northward, but they're getting away from Metro Atlanta. We have had a lot of heavy rainfall in the last hour or so, and if you take the lightning off and put a pause to it so it's a little bit clearer of what's going on, you can see the heavy downpours are continuing. In fact, there are some strong thunderstorms that are impacting Floyd County there in Rome. In fact, we can zoom into that storm that's happening right now. This is exactly what we're talking about. These heavy downpours dumping a lot of rain. Whenever you see these bright reds, in fact, I'll even draw here on your screen. That lets us know that there's a lot of heavy rain, definitely some thunderstorm activity going on as well. So something that we'll have to watch. What we want to see is what's happening here in Metro Atlanta. In fact, if we zoom back out just a little bit and take a look around the 285 perimeter, you can see just rain. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see those really deep reds. That lets us know that it is absolutely storming. Speaking of, take a look at this shower and thunderstorm near Good Hope that we're watching. Definitely a lot of heavy rain, even going up into Lawrenceville, into portions of Gwinnett County. So we've been watching these showers and thunderstorms all day. If you have not seen, this is probably one of the best. We've gotten a lot of videos today of the rain. A lot of people are still out and about. It's after lunch now, but when it first started, people were starting to go on their lunch hour and starting to go on break. And this was in Morrow, Georgia on 75 near Jonesboro Road. And it's just a testament of how much rainfall fell and how quickly those roads became a little bit treacherous out there. If you get caught on one of these showers, I would just anticipate the same type of action for you. Will it be that bad? Not necessarily, but what happened is these storms, they just kind of parked over the same areas and they didn't move very quickly. There was a flash flood warning in effect for Cobb and Fulton counties, but they just canceled that. So you don't have to worry about that anymore, but there still could definitely be some ponding on the roadways. You can see the rainfall still going on right now. Here's a live look into Truist Park. It's starting to look a little bit better. Sky's not so ominous out there, even at the airport. Unfortunately, the damage has been done.
Yikes.
Yes, delays at least 120 minutes right now at the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield Jackson International. There's no ground stop. You can see the planes taxiing there on the tarmac, but it's just, we had a ground stop for maybe 30 minutes or an hour or so, and that definitely pushed things back. Then they did a takeoff really mitigation plan where they delay some flights just a little bit to help with the airspace. Sometimes they'll hold the planes in the air so that they don't get caught in those thunderstorms as they land. And so when they do that, they have to make some delay, adjustments.
Let me ask you a layup question here,
Yeah.
Danielle, and get to brag on your many different experiences a little bit, because some folks might know you also have legit experience in that kind of world, in the aviation world.
Yes.
I think some folks may see that graphic and think, okay, sure, there was a stop at some point, but now look, it's not raining anymore there.
Yeah.
Everything looks good. You see some planes going, and still a 2-hour delay. Why does that happen?
So this is exactly why I liked the weather. I couldn't understand it myself. Zach, I would sit there in the airport, in the terminal, and look outside and say, why?
And this is when you're working as a flight attendant.
As a flight attendant. Why are we delayed? Like, it looks fine. We should be able to take off right now, and it's not. So what happens is when the FAA air traffic controllers, some of them are actual meteorologists, and they have a plan. They work with the National Weather Service just like us, and they say, okay, there's thunderstorms in a specific area, right? For air traffic controllers, it's a little bit different, but when they communicate with the National Weather Service, there's an aviation portion of the forecast discussion for different airports, mainly all the airports in the United States. And they will say, okay, there's thunderstorms in this area. They might have to reroute planes. They might have to delay planes. Sometimes you'll be in a holding pattern in the sky, and you don't want to be in a holding pattern because obviously you're going to have enough fuel. When we leave the ground, they make sure they fuel the aircraft enough for, you get caught in one of these afternoon showers and thunderstorms. But all of those things take a big part into preparation on the ground, right? We're the world's busiest airport. So you don't have just flights leaving and going here in Metro Atlanta. You might be going to Florida where it's actively raining there. So you might be going to North Carolina, South Carolina, anywhere where it's actively raining, and you have to take an account for that. Not only for the active storms, but for the crews that were caught in those storms during the ground stop. So if they put a ground stop on and your pilot's up in a holding pattern for your flight that's, might be at your gate.
If the person flying the airplane that you're supposed to be on is in a different airplane that's still in the sky, you're probably not taking off on time in that airplane on the ground. I always think of, Danielle, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think of kind of a Jenga tower.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with that.
Exactly.
And the tower gets bigger and bigger and wider, and with more pieces, the bigger the airport, the more heavily traveled the airport is. And we are sitting at the central point of aviation. I mean, you could argue in the world. This is the world's busiest airport right here in Atlanta. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but when there starts to be backups, when there starts to be delays, even if the ground stop or the delay isn't that long to begin with, you start pulling out some of those pieces, and it can take a long time to get them all plugged back in and the system running smoothly.
Exactly. People always ask, what's the best time of day to fly? In the morning, especially in the summer, because we're not the only ones that experience these showers and thunderstorms. You could be anywhere and have one of these showers and thunderstorms derail your plane. The later you get in your day, we turn into pumpkins. That's what they say. There's
we don't want to be pumpkins
I know.
Here.
There's a number of hours that pilots and flight attendants can fly for during a day. So you cannot just delay a pilot all day long. You want your pilots to be fresh.
There are strict rules on this. You can only be, same for flight attendants too. The crews can only be working for so many hours.
Exactly. So the later in the day you get, some of these delays might go down because they're going to end up canceling flights. And as simple as just 2 hours of your day, there was thunderstorms, and you're looking at a completely different schedule, and your flight as a passenger might be delayed. So there's a lot of moving parts. Like you said, I think Jenga Tower is perfect if you've ever played Jenga, but this is the perfect way to describe what can happen at an airport. Not only do you see that it's nice and sunny, if there's a lightning strike nearby, they're going to make sure those ground crews are also safe, so they could also do a ground delay sometimes when it's not even raining, just lightning in the area. So just want to make sure that, if you have any flying in the next few hours, make sure that you check with your airline before you head to the airport, or maybe even try to change your route. I will say that it's starting to look a little bit better here in Metro Atlanta, but there's still showers and thunderstorms in the area. So even as you climb out of Atlanta, depending on where you're going, you don't want to get caught in one of those showers. That would definitely increase your risk for turbulence for sure. Midtown looking drier, still a little bit ominous out there, but overall that is much better than what we were seeing. Currently it's 73 degrees outside. I think this is very important to see. What's our 24-hour temperature change right now?
Whoa.
We're 12 degrees cooler here in Metro Atlanta than what we were this time yesterday because of those showers and thunderstorms.
Feels like the start of a school year.
Yeah,
it's got
I know.
That fall, crisp air. Well, it's a little humid, but if you look past
It
that.
is. I was going to just pull up what does it feel like outside. It feels like 73 here in Metro Atlanta, but check out Dalton.
Not feeling like crisp autumn air there.
No, it is actively sweating weather there. It's 96.
That's weather I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it feels like 96 degrees in Dalton because they haven't gotten much rain. And if they did get rain, what happened is that it dried out and the humidity shot up. And so now it's very humid out there. Same in Rome, 91. They are going to start where that gauge is. We'll start to see that trending down because it is raining currently in Floyd County there. So very interesting. Summertime weather always keeps us on our toes, and it's why I love the weather. No day is the same. Let's time it out for you. What can you expect for the next few hours? Here's the best news. Metro Atlanta doesn't mean North Georgia, even going towards portions of like North Cobb, going into Canton and Cherokee County. You could be seeing some showers, but here around the 285 perimeter, it does look like we could be dry by your evening commute. Then we dry out for the overnight hours, get really nice and dry for your morning commute to work tomorrow. But then as you head into the afternoon, we start to see more of those showers and thunderstorms bubbling up. Same for your Thursday, drying out once again, and then more pulsating showers and thunderstorms. So we're just in this active weather situation. We're continuing to monitor what's going on. And just for funsies, because the Braves are back at home tonight. Once again, they take on the Marlins. If you're going out there, Look for some paper towels for your seats because they're going to be a little bit wet, and take a poncho just in case you get caught on one of those showers. We're not expecting it to be complete heavy downpours like what we're seeing right now, but you could maybe see a lingering shower. Make sure that you are prepared for that as well. Here's a quick look at your 7-day forecast before we transition into your traffic. 7-day forecast shows temperatures are going to be comfortable, but you can see those rain chances. We increased them just a little bit. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 60, 50, 40% chance of rain and showers pretty much all week long. Now, let's take a look on the roadways. This is very interesting. This is a look into Midtown, right? This is right near Georgia Tech. You can start to see that, honestly, this is a great moving traffic.
I was going to say, 3:12 in the afternoon, it was raining earlier.
Yes.
For the connector.
Cooking with grease, Zach.
You're pretty good. We're doing pretty good here. If you don't live in Atlanta, you don't realize how good this is.
Exactly. This is best case scenario by far. But I think this is very interesting. Our road conditions. Yes, the roads are wet, but you can see the blue areas. That's ponding. So we will see some of those showers moving out of Metro Atlanta, and those roads will start to dry out. But one thing you will notice is that in areas that are actively getting rain, you can see there in Monroe, even near Snellville, Reed-Ann, Conyers, definitely seeing some ponding on those roadways. Here's a look at some accidents and incidents that I was monitoring. I'm sure they've changed by now. This is a look into the downtown connector. There was an accident at the top end of the connector. It has cleared, but once you get through the Grady curve and getting closer to 75-85 split, we start to see some slow and go areas. There's an accident on Covington Highway westbound at Mercer Road. That's not causing any huge delays. I think the biggest one is this accident at 285 southbound at South Atlanta Road. There was actually a car that veered off of the road in some of that rain. It has cleared up, but there's still some active delays if you are headed southbound on 285. And the accidents that were in Cobb County have since cleared, which is great news. And this was from yesterday. So, just make sure that you are taking your time on the roadways this evening. Here's another look. I think this is, once again, Zach, best case scenario for traffic after it has rained and as we're starting to enter into rush hour traffic time this afternoon.
It's really good.
Yeah.
If only we could learn how to make the connector look like that every day.
Woo.
But beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
So we'll take what we can get. And certainly if you're not in that condition right now, be safe, be careful, go a little slower. And listen to Danielle, because she's going to always have good advice and get us through what has been another busy day. And I saw that 7-day forecast. It seems like we're going to be doing this for a couple days here.
Yes, we are.
Danielle, thank you very much.
Thank you,
always a treat to have you in the streaming center. We appreciate you, and we know you have a million other things to do, so we're going to let you go. And we're going to transition here. Megan Smedley, our producer here in the streaming center, and also a savvy sports journalist. Megan, we've got a little sports update here as well. What did you just learn?
Yeah, so Maria Martin was on the stream earlier in the day talking about how practice is in the afternoon. Practice is ending early a little bit. It's ending 45 minutes early because there's an injury. Falcons star linebacker Jalen Walker has been carted off from practice this afternoon. Practice shortly ended afterwards. Precautionary that they got taken off on the cart, but they always want to take people off on the cart. Don't want them to walk on anything.
Sure.
But Maria tweeted that he's down at practice and it doesn't look good, that the whole team came over to him, but they did cart him off. Practice shortly ended afterwards. Everything is precautionary. We don't know anything about the injury yet, but that's something definitely to keep an eye on about their former first-round pick from last year, the former Georgia Bulldog.
Practice ending early following that injury.
Yes, it was supposed to end at 3:55, and it is done right now.
Oh, boy. All right, we're going to keep a close eye on that, and certainly hoping that, as the evaluation follows this, it ends up being, as minimal as possible, thinking about the team and a tough start to just a few days into training camp here. 3:16, our time right now. Much more to come. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to take you back now to Capitol Hill, where the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism, they're holding a hearing right now on AI data surveillance and profit. We were there earlier. We're going to go back now. Let's join this hearing in progress.
We'll see if we can turn you up.
I am familiar with this incident. It's really just stunning revolution from a corporate Twitter account. The topic of this hearing today is surveillance pricing, the practice of using your personal information in pricing decisions. This really simple tweet basically is a confession of two things. The first thing is asking.
And so as we try to listen in here, I think this is a situation where her microphone might not be on, because we heard Senator Josh Hawley there, who's the chair of the subcommittee. So I think we're getting a clean feed. Let's go back once more and see if they've gotten the microphone situation sorted, because we want to listen in if we can.
But I also think this is such an important example because it shows that surveillance pricing.
And while we keep a close eye on this, I think, guys, what we may want to do is take another brief break, and we're going to take another look at all the feeds coming in. Hopefully, the Senate AV group, hardworking group, surely, somebody catches that this microphone is not up, because we definitely want to listen in if we can. But right now, 3:20 is our time. We're going to take a brief break, and, well, hang on. Let's turn it up one more time. Let's see if we
They sense intuitively that they're being ripped off in some way on these airlines. And here's the smoking gun. I want to emphasize, this is their own corporate account. And they did not say in response, oops, we were hacked. What they said is we made a mistake. No doubt they did. The mistake of candor, where they confessed inadvertently what they're really doing. Let me just ask you, Dr. Owens, because I think it's pretty clear, but what's the motive here? I mean, what is JetBlue's motive? What would you say?
This is about profit.
Yeah.
The data that powers the surveillance pricing engine is estimated to be $700 billion industry by 2030. So that's not really well known.
What kind of data do companies like JetBlue have on us? I mean, we talked about the browser history, the fact that they're clearly tracking this person around. They can see what's in their cache and so forth. But what else? What other kinds of information do these companies have that they can use to set these personalized scam, I would say, prices?
Yeah, unfortunately for consumers, it's increasingly nearly everything. It's your location data. It's behavioral data. What you buy, what you don't buy, what you keep in your cart.
seem to be in a situation where we can hear half of the hearing going on right now. We can hear from the dais with the senators there, including Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican who chairs this subcommittee, but we can't hear the witnesses, or at least this witness, Dr. Lindsay Owens. We're going to keep a close eye on this hearing because I think it's a topic that is certainly at the center of national conversation. Artificial intelligence, data, how and whether you are tracked online, what information companies have about you through your online activity. We're going to keep a close eye on this. We're going to hope to get the witness's microphone back up. For the moment, though, it's 3:22. We're going to take a very brief break. Stay with us. We're going to work to get this sorted. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to take you back now to Capitol Hill once again. Cross your fingers, because we think we have levels now. We think we can hear everybody, or at least Mr. Robert Hedges, as well as the senators questioning him. Let's listen in.
To track where someone's shopping, the ability to infer where they live, the ability to infer the sense of urgency comes from lots of different data sources.
I just think it is an extraordinary revelation to most Americans. It certainly is to me, that what you're doing with a credit card over here could be used by a company over there to set a price for you that's different than the price that they would give to Senator Durbin or to Senator Lee or anybody in the audience. I mean, that is extraordinary. And what say do I have in any of it? None.
Well,
none whatsoever.
And to your point, specifically, the transaction occurring lets the seller or the airline know it's you, right? I mean, that's the culminating point of the search process or the shopping process, where all those factors get actioned.
Do you prefer Karen or Corone?
Karen, please. Thank you.
Tell me about Norway.
Thank you so much for asking. Norway provides a warning that I think we should pay attention to. They were an early adopter of the electronic shelf labels, so customers are used to seeing them in the stores, and they're used to seeing the prices change while they're shopping. One article estimated sometimes as much as 100 times a day. And what happened in Norway is that the Norwegian Competition Authority found that the three major grocery companies, which together control about 95% of the grocery market there, were essentially price fixing.
Colluding.
They were colluding to fix prices. They were visiting each other's stores to document price comparisons, but instead of using it to lower prices, they were able to confirm when their competitor was offering a higher price. And the electronic shelf labels were the important piece of the puzzle that enabled them to raise their own prices instantly when they saw that. They were charged a record high fine that was recently upheld. And I think an important lesson there is that thankfully, they had a very aggressive regulator in Norway that caught them doing this, and I think that's something that we need to be very aware could happen here.
Dr. Zhang, I don't think we consumers have a fighting chance. The information that's being gathered about us involuntarily is hard to describe in terms of any limitations. Facial recognition, for goodness sakes, you can walk in the front door of the store and they'll identify you on the spot. I'm told that many stores, particularly grocery stores, track the customers in their journey through the store, dwell time at certain shelves. All this is being accumulated. I don't think it's any coincidence that most stores put dairy products as far away from the front door as possible. So they think people want to buy milk before they go home or eggs. It's way over there in the corner of the store. You have to wander through the store to get over there. It's all designed in terms of measuring and influencing consumer behavior. Does a consumer have a chance?
I definitely think that consumers do have a chance, and the reason is because information is very, very important for the functioning of the economy. So, which basically means that the firms do
Even
need
my information, my personal information?
Personal information. Well, the consumers consist of individuals, and so you have to collect individual information to really get to know the consumers in the market. I would say that that's the first case, and in order for the economy to function, you need to have the information. And of course, that once you collect the information, the firms, in fact, that would do everything possible, of course, not only serve the customers, in the meantime, they actually have to make some profit. Otherwise, they cannot survive in the marketplace. I don't really know if supermarkets are the most profitable business and in the world. I don't know how much profit they are making. If you look at how many the stores like that and close every year, and you would imagine that, in fact, that they probably have not used the information in a good way.
Now, if I'm buying online, though, it's another story, right?
You buy online definitely is a different story, and they can capture more information from you for sure.
Yeah, they seem to read your mind. I don't have any of Claude or any of those helpers in my home to monitor what's
By
going
the way,
on.
I get upset too. And a lot of times when the firms do something like that, of course, in that case, given that the prices are actually changing from the high to low, and in this case, of course, that you have the opportunity to take advantage of the low prices too. So which means that consumers do have to sort of, consumers will be empowered and for their own agency, and then to try to look for low prices, for sure, in this environment.
Mr. Hedges, many years ago, many years ago, I walked into this room and sat down at the corner over there for Arlen Specter, who had a hearing on swipe fees and interchange fees. I'd never heard of them. I listened and understood that if I had a business, a restaurant in Springfield, Illinois, and I wanted to have Visa and MasterCard, I had to pay a swipe fee, a percentage of the cost of a dinner that I'm going to serve, and add that on to my cost. The consumer still doesn't know how much that is, by and large, and yet that fee continues to be charged, and most retailers will tell you it's a big piece of their profit. Is that fair?
Is the practice fair? Is that the question you're asking?
That there's no negotiation, take it or leave it, Mr. Retailer. Try living without Visa and MasterCard. See how you
Sure. So I retired from Visa about 10 months ago, and in my role as chief data officer, I was not involved in interchange management and swipe fee management practices.
We're not going to prosecute you. Go forward.
Pardon me?
We're not going to prosecute you. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So I mean, I think, clarity regarding pricing ought to be the principle that's working here, and transparency around it. And I, wholeheartedly embrace all that, but I'm not really in a good position to talk about the pricing that Visa pursues because I was never involved in the management of it.
Our hearing is about information being gathered and consumers paying a higher price because of it. That is our concern. I think the Chairman's illustrated that pretty effectively. I think the same thing applies when it comes to Visa and MasterCard. I think there ought to be disclosure to the consumer about what you're charging in that industry, what you did charge in that industry with your former employer as part of it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lee.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. This hearing raises interesting questions. AI surveillance pricing is a new development, and it's one that finds itself at the crossroads of a whole bunch of developments in a bunch of different concerns, including consumer privacy, competition, artificial intelligence, and I appreciate the opportunity to flesh some of these out. Last month, I wrote a letter to Uber and to Lyft seeking some information about whether, to what extent, and what ways their algorithms might use personal data, behavioral signals, or competitor information to help determine rider fares and driver compensation at any given moment. I look forward to their responses, but those questions relate to a broad question before us today, which involves when, whether, to what extent, in what way does legitimate dynamic pricing at some point morph into something more troubling? That raises serious legal and policy concerns. And then what, if anything, do existing laws have to say about that? And are existing laws sufficient to deal with it? Dr. Owens, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. Now, you support prohibiting companies, as I understand it, from using personal data to set individualized prices. What kind of test, if we were writing a law, what sort of statutory text would you suggest that we use in order to distinguish between surveillance pricing on the one hand and lawful dynamic pricing on the other hand? Utilizing basic inputs like supply, demand, and inventory, as well as time to set prices.
Yeah, I think dynamic pricing can be a useful pricing tool. We usually think of dynamic pricing as factoring things like market conditions into the picture. So trying to manage supply and demand and bring scarce resources into equilibrium. Personalized pricing, on the other hand, is really more about the practice of setting individualized prices, and in the case of surveillance pricing, individualized prices based on data that the company is collecting on you and sort of turning against you.
Using your unique vulnerabilities that they may have access to or may be aware of you more than you are.
Absolutely, information asymmetries. I have to say, I really supported your efforts and think they're really incredible to go after the car companies who are spying on consumers and selling that data to their insurance companies for the express purpose of hiking their premiums. I think that is a really important effort to curtail surveillance pricing in the auto insurance sector, and what car companies are doing to spy on consumers is really problematic. But I do think dynamic pricing has a place in the market in certain settings, but it can also be exploited. I think we all just experienced that with the World Cup, where FIFA used dynamic pricing for the first time ever, and the result was an auction for World Cup tickets, which priced out many of the most loyal and passionate fans and turned the sport into a luxury box for the wealthy.
Yeah. Now, to that end, taking concerns like that into account, you've recommended restricting data pooling and potentially even winding some previously completed transactions in which companies are pooling data sets. Is that right?
Yeah, but also I think the real question with dynamic pricing is, what's the goal of the pricing strategy? Is the goal to maximize revenues, to sell scarce resources to the highest bidder? Dynamic pricing for resources that aren't scarce is really strange. Like, why are we using dynamic pricing for wheat thins? Target isn't running out of boxes of wheat thins when they're.
I mean, it could happen theoretically.
Sure. We've lived through these recent shortages, but typically what we're seeing with dynamic pricing in grocery stores and with the electronic shelf labels that the UFCW and Senator Hawley have talked about, this is things like hiking up the price of ice cream on a hot day when they know customers need a cool treat.
What sorts of tools or data sets should antitrust enforcement personnel be looking for when flagging instances of these, when identifying surveillance pricing? How best do you differentiate the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad?
Yeah, I think there are antitrust solutions at play here. There are data privacy solutions at play here. And frankly, I think there really is a need for new laws. This practice, as Mr. Heppner mentioned, is sort of in a legal gray area that's exploiting a lot of existing legal loopholes. And so while I'm interested in FTC enforcement, and I think state attorneys general have an opportunity to pursue surveillance pricing under things like existing UDAP laws, I do think a federal standard would be quite beneficial in protecting consumers here. And then, of course, regulators should enforce that law.
One of the things that you've talked about is making sure that anytime somebody's using an AI purchasing agent, an agent powered by AI, authorized by the consumer to make a purchase on behalf of that consumer, that the AI agent must be required to act in the consumer's best interest. How would you define it and police that?
Yeah, this is an idea that I've started to write about, and actually Senator Warner has released a discussion draft of legislation, the AI Agent Act, to take this issue on. Look, my concern here is, when someone operates as an agent in the traditional economy, the brick and mortar economy, if you will, they have to act in your best interest. Your realtor has to act in your best interest. Your book agent has to act in your best interest. We have chatbots in agentic AI operating as your agent, planning to go shopping for you, pick up airfares for you, or airline tickets for you, with no similar
expectation of a fiduciary responsibility.
Exactly. And you have to start to wonder, as agentic commerce really reshapes our economy, expected to be a $5 trillion book of business by 2030, what shopping is going to look like if chatbots are shopping in Google Gemini's behalf and in ChatGPT's behalf and not in your behalf. And so this is something that I've been doing a lot of thinking and writing about. I think a best interest standard is one interesting approach. I've supported Senator Warren's approach here, or Senator Warner's approach here, but also think there are a variety of other options worth considering.
Okay. So in other words, I'm out of time, but it sounds like part of what you're talking about is that the consumer needs to know what's happening. And just because it's part of AI doesn't necessarily mean it's foolproof, doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't other influences at play including acting on behalf of somebody who's a part owner of the agent, or maybe given money to the agent in order to preference their product over somebody else's?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having this hearing. And I think you can sense a bipartisan feeling of urgency around this topic, particularly among members of this subcommittee. In my view, we ought to be having this hearing with the full committee, and we ought to be working on legislation that incorporates some of the ideas that have been advanced here. Senator Hawley and I have a framework for legislation. We've also pursued individual pieces of legislation dealing with AI, and I agree with you that there may be a difference, Dr. Owens, between surveillance pricing and dynamic pricing, but for the consumer who sees prices rising, they don't care. Right now, we have an affordability crisis, and we ought to be doing something about the use of AI, regardless of what the retailer says the goal is, because it's a little bit like a spitball that's thrown. It doesn't really matter whether the spit got there purposefully or whether it just happened to pass by the lips of the pitcher. The effect is the same, and we outlaw the pitch in baseball because it is unfair to the batter, and the same principle applies here. We need a law. We need a federal law. We need federal standards. We need national safeguards. And to that end, I am deeply disappointed that the present chairman of the FTC has abandoned the work that began under the prior FTC chair. Lena Khan issued investigative demands for data from retailers on this practice, and at the end of her term, the commission published a preliminary report that found, quote, retailers frequently use people's personal information to set targeted, tailored prices for goods and services, from a person's location and demographics down to their mouse movements on a web page, and end quote. And actually, she raised the possibility that I think you raised, Dr. Owens, about a parent needing a thermometer. As a parent of 4, I know I've been out there searching frantically for certain things. For our first of 4 children, I was less frantic on the 3rd and the 4th, but we know that it's not just the availability of the product that surveillance pricing looks at. It's also the need and capacity to pay of the consumer, and that's where some of the problem arises. So I'm very disappointed the FTC has abandoned that effort. On the other hand, states have begun to lead, in particular my state of Connecticut, along with the state of New York, has passed laws that regulate surveillance pricing. Some of these laws are stronger than others, with restrictions ranging from corporate transparency to complete bans. New York's One Fair Price Act prohibits businesses from using algorithms to set prices in whole or in part based on personal data. Connecticut, commendably, also signed
Right,
on...
we want to interrupt this Senate subcommittee hearing currently underway with some breaking news just coming across our desk right now. Atlanta police have just confirmed that Atlanta police officers, they are investigating a report of multiple people shot near 55 Maple Street Northwest. We're going to put a map up on your screen momentarily. Here it comes. So 55 Maple Street Northwest. It's right next to the Bends. It's in this neighborhood of homes you see right in the center of your screen there. APD confirming one man has been pronounced dead at the scene. Officers are on scene there as well. They're working to gather further information, they tell us. Details still very limited. Again, what we do know is this. APD is investigating a report of multiple people shot in a neighborhood just next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, downtown. APD confirming one man has been pronounced dead on the scene. We're looking live at a different perspective right now. This is a GDOT camera at Carter Street. It's buffering right there. If you look at the intersection here and look at the street that's shooting off to the right right-hand side of our screen from our vantage point, you can see some flashing lights in the distance. This, we suspect, is part of the law enforcement response to this shooting that we are just learning and just getting confirmed from APD. We have a news crew on the way working to gather more information. As we continue to learn more, we're going to bring that to you. Again, here's what we do know right now. APD investigating a report of multiple people shot near 55 Maple Street Northwest. That's a neighborhood very close to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. APD confirming one man has been killed. Officers are on the scene. They're working to gather more information. As we learn it and as we get confirmed on the record information, we're going to bring that to you. Right now, we are going to take a very brief break. We'll be right back. We're going to take you back now to that breaking news. We just brought you here on the 11Alive Streaming Center reports of a shooting with multiple victims. APD says they are investigating such a report near 55 Maple Street Northwest. APD also confirming at this point that one male victim was pronounced dead at the scene. You're looking live now at video from the 11Alive Sky Tracker over the scene. Downtown Atlanta, right off of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is a neighborhood that we have seen a lot of police activity at. The helicopter just got on scene here, currently over top of this apartment complex here. We don't know for sure. Well, hang on as we zoom in here. It looks like we can see a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So you're looking at some police tape there, and as we get a wider angle on it, it'll give us an indication of where law enforcement's attention is focused. You see another part of the law enforcement perimeter here. The scene does appear to be focused in this block of the apartment homes. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like at least 5 APD officers on the scene here near 55 Maple Street Northwest. Guys, while we're watching this, can we see if we can figure out what the name of the neighborhood is here, the apartment complex? And as we look here, obviously a lot of tree cover there, but you can see towards the bottom of the screen what appears to be another gaggle of law enforcement officers on the scene. APD confirming limited details at this point, but just as they said, officers are on scene. They're working to gather more information. What we do have confirmed from them, regrettably, is that one male victim was pronounced dead at the scene. APD investigating reports of multiple people shot. Again, this is taking place near 55 Maple Street Northwest. We're over in Vine City here. The apartment complex, we're working to get a name of that. I believe, as I look at this, the Flats. The Flats at Maple Street, perhaps? All right. And we're working to gather this information in real time right alongside of you. According to a Google Maps image we're looking at right now, this is in the neighborhood of the apartment complex of the Flats at Maple Street. You're looking at a wide angle of it right now. It's right next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium over in Vine City. Atlanta police working to gather more information following reports of multiple people shot in the area of this apartment complex. APD confirming that one male victim has died at the scene, was pronounced dead at the scene. We saw law enforcement's activity, it appears, focused on one specific unit, or I should say kind of series of apartment units inside of this larger complex here. Perhaps indicating that the focal point of their investigative work is inside. We don't know that for sure. Our Cody Alcorn, a photojournalist, they are on the way to the scene right now. They're going to have the very latest coming up right at the top of 11Alive News at 4 as we continue to gather more information. As the helicopter, the 11Alive Sky Tracker, pans out and zooms out, you can see the Benz right there in the top of the picture you're seeing live. Again, if you're just joining us, this is live imagery from the 11Alive Sky Tracker on top of this apartment complex. The Flats at Maple Street is the name of the apartment complex. APD is on scene right now. They have confirmed that they are investigating a report of multiple people shot. And they confirm one adult, or I should say one male victim. We don't know the age. One male victim pronounced dead at the scene. We're going to continue to follow this as we learn more. We're going to bring it to you. Again, our Cody Alcorn is on the way to the scene right now. He'll have a live report coming up in just a few moments on 11Alive News at 4. As we continue to keep a close eye on that situation, we're going to bring you the very latest as soon as confirmed information crosses our desk. Right now, we're going to take you back to Capitol Hill, where that Senate subcommittee hearing continues.
If I face the situation like this, I'd be really, really angry. There is absolutely no question. Okay. Number two, that indeed that you see that if JetBlue is smart in using AI, and they would know this person has a funeral, there is really no good purpose for the company to try to make the customer angry here. Right? So this is to me.
Well, no, but wait a minute. But they absolutely have a purpose in trying to get this customer to pay. I mean, if he's really in duress, as he is, he needs to get to that funeral. They're just trying to maximize their profit.
Well,
and he's willing to pay that fare. He may be angry about it, but he'll pay it by golly. The only reason it didn't work out for him is because it was all public.
Well, because they didn't get the good data. I think they got wrong data, and in this case, and probably made a mistake charging the person. That's why they basically went back and basically saying that if you do something else, we give you a lower price.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think they had great data. The problem is that he put this out there for all the world to see, and JetBlue exposed the fact that they've got all this information on it. My question is, don't you think we should put some limits on this? Isn't there some limit to the exploitation of a consumer's vulnerability, whether it's somebody who's trying to get to a funeral or a parent who has a sick child? I mean, don't you think that we should say at a certain point, listen, I mean, fair in the legal context, you referenced fair prices earlier. Fairness in the legal context means treating similar parties similarly. The equal justice under the law. It's that there's not a rule for me and a rule for Senator Blumenthal and a rule for Senator Lee. There is one rule that applies to all similarly situated parties. The problem with this surveillance pricing is that it seems to say, no, there's going to be a different rule for every single person. And the corporations have all the information. We have none of it. The asymmetry is astounding. They know everything there is to know. I have basically no ability to set the price. They've got all of the information. Doesn't there seem to be something that is fundamentally wrong with that?
I would totally agree with you that there has to be a boundary. The boundary probably most likely is in the way you collect information, process information, and use the information, but not in a way that you would actually have a multiple price points for your product. And if you do that, imagine that, I think at this point, somehow that our understanding is that anytime you use a personalized pricing, not only you're going to make a price variable across the customers, also that indeed the price always go high. I don't believe that's the case. And in fact, the fact that our prices are variable, they are already there already. And so you don't need the AI to do all that. And the firms do actually change the pricing in so many different ways. And
we're going to take you back now once again to that breaking news scene in Vine City here in Atlanta, just west of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You're looking live over it right now. This is a live feed from the 11Alive Sky Tracker. Atlanta police are on the scene of this apartment complex known as the Flats at Maple Street. APD confirming that their officers are on scene investigating what they're describing as a report of multiple people shot inside of this broader apartment complex. APD confirming one male victim was pronounced dead on the scene. APD saying their officers are working to gather more information. You're looking at that process right now. Their efforts, their focus seems to be concentrated on this block of apartment complex, this block of apartment units you see partially taped off here from overhead. Close to a dozen, likely more than that, law enforcement officers visible on scene, working to gather more information. Our Cody Alcorn, and a photojournalist, our team is on the way to the scene, likely, as I look at the clock, just arrived. They're going to have a live update on 11Alive News at 4 as soon as they get on scene and have a better vantage point from the ground level. You do see from the Sky Tracker here what appear to be law enforcement officers and perhaps others, perhaps witnesses, perhaps apartment complex employees. We can't tell from this vantage point, but a group of maybe 10 or 12 huddled together, working to gather more information. We're out of time with you right now here in the 11Alive Streaming Center, but 11Alive News at 4 is only about 70 seconds away. A live report coming up with all we know following that fatal shooting in Vine City. That and much more is up next.